Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by primary sponsor BSN Sports. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by Keith Brown, AJ Fairchild, and Tony Fairchild. So, guys, thanks again for joining me.
Absolutely.
Another week in the books, and, geez, one more week, and we are into playoff football finally. So that's a special edition for this podcast. We're going to break things down, so stay tuned for that. Got a lot of good conversations coming. But, man, what a weekend for football. High school, college. College was crazy.
Yes, it was.
We talk about Michigan and Illinois. Illinois had the really cool helmets painted that looked like the old school helmets. And it was absolutely incredible because I had looked first glance because I was at a wedding and I was watching the game on my phone a little bit. And I was like, there's no way Illinois is wearing old school helmets. And come to find out, each of them were individually painted and took 2 hours apiece to paint. So
wow,
that's pretty incredible. But that kind of leads into my little point because I've been liking to throw in an interesting fact or question for you guys, but found out this weekend. So typically in football, high school, college, whatever, the home team wears dark colors, but I realized and found out there's one team that wears white for home and away in college football. Any guess who it is?
Penn State.
Nope.
They do their white out.
Well, that's true too, but I mean,
on
a regular basis. I mean,
they don't wear white at home.
No, they don't.
Nope, they do not wear white at home. Okay. They have a white out, but they don't wear white. They wear blue.
That's a very good question.
From the South.
They wear white for their home jerseys.
Texas?
SEC.
New SEC?
Old SEC.
Old SEC.
Well, I'll give it to you guys. LSU.
Oh, really?
I thought that was really interesting. They wear white jerseys to home and away, and it was a tradition that was started years ago. I can't remember the exact reason, but really cool. And every once in a great while for a special game, they'll wear their purple jerseys.
Wow.
Yeah, they wear white for home and away. I never realized that. So that's something we always talk about, jersey talk a lot, and that poll's still going on. But something that's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know of any other school that even does it. So
I'll be darned. Yeah, LSU's got some really good-looking uniforms, too. I like those. I've always been one of my all-time faves.
But, yeah, something interesting. But
nice.
Let's go ahead. Let's get into how we did for last week's picks. So we're going to kick things off here. Myself, Logan, and Matthew finished with 17-3 records. So pretty good week out of us. Third was a tie between Keith and Tony with 16-4 records apiece. And last was AJ with 15-5 records. So on the year, it's still a tie in first between Logan and Matthew, each with having a record of 140 and 32, good for 81%. Third is Keith with a record of 133 and 39 for 77%. Fourth is AJ with a record of 132 and 40, good for 77%. And last is Tony with a record of 131 and 41, 76%, and just one game behind AJ. So Tony's not far behind anymore.
I think Matthew won last year, too, if I remember.
Yeah, I believe so.
All the way through the playoffs.
Stinking Keith hadn't talked me out, or you guys hadn't talked me out of the Napoleon game. I had BG typed in there and changed it as we did it. I could have been tied with AJ.
Shouldn't listen to us.
I know.
I took Holgate, just coverage area game there. Toledo Christian.
Well, you didn't take Stryker.
No, because that one I changed because they had already played earlier in the season.
Right. Yeah.
And was a handed win by Danbury, so I went with Danbury again.
All right. Well, we'll get into the Week 9 game recaps here, and we're going to start with the NWO Sports game of the week first, and that's Holgate at Toledo Christian. And Toledo Christian just brought their A++ game against Holgate, won 62-0. This game was actually played at Boucher's Charles W. Matthews Stadium, so played at a neutral site. And Holgate was actually plagued by the injury bug. They had both their running backs out, both linebackers, both quarterbacks. And I told these guys before the game, someone reached out and messaged to me and said, I don't know about game of the week. I know Holgate's got quite a few guys injured, so that really hurt their odds of winning that game. But just some different odds and facts about this game. Toledo Christian scored touchdowns on all 8 first-half possessions, good for a 56-0 halftime lead. Toledo Christian started in Holgate territory on 7 drives, and the only drive they did not was on their own 49. Holgate started every possession inside their own 35 and never got into Toledo Christian territory. And Toledo Christian, man, tell you what, Coach Andrew Skeels has built an absolute powerhouse at Toledo Christian 8-man football. So looking at total offense for this, Toledo Christian had 261 yards of offense, which I guess you're not going to have many yards of offense if you're starting with great field position every single drive. And Holgate only had 24 yards. So Unfortunately, I did not have access to a lot of stats from this game. But what are your guys' thoughts on the Holgate at Toledo Christian 8-man matchup?
Well, having just about every skill position player hurt doesn't set you up for very good success. Yikes.
I mean, Toledo Christian having 261 yards when you basically started no further than 51 yards away. You're not going to get very many.
Yeah, we saw these two teams play last year for the 8-man championship, and Toledo Christian is they're just on a whole nother level.
They're in another category.
8-man. I mean, like you said, Logan, they are just a machine. I mean, sure, Carter Kester, I'm sure he had a monster game as always. Like he could start for anybody in the state of Ohio, really. I'm assuming. So.
And they have a really solid defensive lineman too. I cannot think of his name off the top of my head, but he had a handful of sacks as well. And there's been a lot of rumors thrown around. I don't know if this is true or not, but Toledo Christian may be going back to 11-man. I don't know. I know there's been a change and shift in the tack, so it makes sense for them to join, but. I know a lot of people are saying, get Toledo Christian back in 11-man. Just because they're good doesn't mean that, I don't think that's necessarily a factor in 8-man or 11-man. It's a numbers issue. So if you can sustain those numbers for, years and longevity, then I think you could look at getting an 11-man. But, Toledo Christian, I believe they have, 40 kids.
I think
40 kids.
Last year when we were there, they had like 36 or 38. So
and there's a lot of 11-man programs that
don't have that.
They don't even have that. So that definitely poses an interesting question. But I certainly do think Toledo Christian could probably hang with some 11-man programs, especially if they went to the TAC. I think they'd fit very well in the TAC and be competitive too. So
definitely. On
the flip side, it's tough to win a game if you're Holgate and you're without all of your starters and a lot of key positions. So just unfortunate for Holgate, and similar situation to the championship game last year that they ran into. But Toledo Christian is an absolute buzz grinder every time they face someone. And Toledo Christian, I believe, has another unbeaten opponent this weekend, St. Mary's Central Catholic, I think. Oh. So another tough test for them. But if you're Holgate, keep your head up and keep moving forward, because they definitely have some good athletes and they have a good team. So let's move on to the next game. We're looking at Lima Central Catholic at Columbus Grove, and this one was definitely a good one. Columbus Grove won this one 28-20, and this game actually had a little bit more meaning to both teams involved. LCC head coach Scott Palte, he was actually a Columbus Grove graduate, and he coached the Columbus Grove Bulldogs from 2005 to 2011, and he actually kept teaching there until he started at LCC in 2015. So that's kind of an interesting fact there. So. And at halftime, Columbus Grove was up 21-7. Total offense, Columbus Grove had 296 yards, 206 rushing. LCC had 300 yards, 161 passing. Turnover battle, Columbus Grove had 0. Lima Central Catholic had 2 fumbles. Looking at some top players of note from Columbus Grove, quarterback Kyle Hopkins. This kid's a wide receiver convert to quarterback due to injury, and he has really stepped up to the plate, continues to impress week after week. He's just very efficient, and he does his job well. I just can't give this kid enough praise. 5 of 7, 90 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 6 carries for 30 rushing yards. So he fulfills his role very well, especially on that offense where Trent Barraza, he's the workhorse of that offense. And when things aren't necessarily working in the run game, or you need to open some things up for the run game, it's nice that you have that option to throw the ball. And Kyle Hopkins has done just that. Running back Trent Barraza, 30 carries, 176 rushing yards, good for 5.9 yards a carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. And wide receiver Trevin Baxter, 3 receptions, 80 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. And I know Barraza's stats weren't necessarily jump off the page, but that's still a solid performance. And I believe I read some of his post-game comments and some different articles, and I know he wasn't impressed with his performance. But Lima Central Catholic is a very good ball team, and historically they are good every single year. So that's not a bad team, and he averaged.
I don't have any problem with the stats. 176 yards. I'd take that every day.
6 yards a carry too. So, guys, what are your thoughts on the Columbus Grove and Lima Central Catholic game?
To me, it just, like I said, I'll take Trenton Barraza running for 176 yards and carrying the ball 30 times and averaging 6 yards a carry. I'd take that every day of the week. That's how you control the clock. So, no, just a great game. Evenly, you look down through the stats, just evenly matched all the way across. For the most part, penalty yards pretty even, penalties. It was just all pretty even all the way across. And obviously, LCC came out and made some changes in the second half and kind of stopped, Columbus Grove from scoring, but they were able to pull it out.
That, for me, the most impressive thing is Columbus Grove still keeps on grinding.
They do.
With the loss of Landon Best, like he was lost versus Patrick Henry. You look at their offense, their output since then. Obviously, they went through Trent Barraza for a game or so, then Kyle has been at the helm, but 45 points, 65 points, 38, 50, 49, and 28 last week versus LCC. So just hard to believe you lose an all-state quarterback and your offense seems to not even miss a beat whatsoever.
I feel like the thing with Columbus Grove is they have that next man up mentality.
Yeah.
No matter who it is, when your time is called, even if it's not your position, kids step up and they fulfill that role, and they're very coachable too. And Coach Schaefer and staff are tremendous. Probably one of the best coaching staffs in Northwest Ohio. Yep. And so that makes it easier for kids to really succeed. And those coaches put those kids in roles and positions to succeed. A lot of times we've seen a lot of football over the last few years in high school. How many times have we seen coaches, great athletes, but they're not setting up to succeed? We talk about with Columbus Grove and their passing attack and why Landon Best is so successful. They do a lot of things to help them out, whether it's schematics or blocking. They'll run the little short routes here and there, high completion percentage throws. We talk about taking the nickel or the dime, and that's how you move the sticks down the field. And Columbus Grove tend to do that a lot. They ran some play action, and they sell it very well, and that's easy to do when you have such a great running attack like Trenton Barraza. But at the same time, they block things very well. So I think that's just, kudos to everyone involved in Columbus Grove, and they continue to do a great job of that.
Yep.
And one thing before you go, Logan, you had the talking point there about the onside kick. Honestly, you can go into more of that detail here, but I saw many videos of this, and I honestly didn't know that was a rule either.
I didn't either. So for you guys that don't know, in the third quarter with 8 minutes to go, Lima Central Catholic surprised Grove with an onside kick, okay? The ball didn't hit the ground before LCC recovered it, so it was still in the air.
So it was like a pooch kick.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it went probably 12, 13 yards.
Right, 15.
I've seen him do that in the pros.
And it was still in the air, and the guy from Lima Central Catholic recovered it. Well, in high school, there was a lot of confusion because at any other level, that's a live ball.
Yeah.
And as long as it goes, the 10 yards or whatever, but it must hit the ground in high school. And supposedly, someone had said that's a new rule change this year in high school football in the state of Ohio. So
I think that it go through his arms and LCC recovered, I believe.
Did it? I don't know.
Some of the videos are hard to see.
I couldn't tell. It may have hit him because it was kind of hard. The one video I had seen, I couldn't tell if it touched him or not. But, the ball has to hit the ground in, I guess, Ohio football. So.
I mean, even if the LCC guy touches it first?
With the Grove guy.
If the Grove guy touches it, yes, I guess.
Yeah,
If the Grove guy touched it first, I mean, if the Grove guy touched it,
It has to hit the ground.
that makes zero sense.
Yeah, you have to look at the video.
So my
in the
thing is,
break.
so you kick it off, and it goes all the way down, and the guy down on the end drops it, or it bounces off his face mask into the air, and you catch it and take it in for a touchdown. It's not a touchdown because it never hit the ground.
I don't know.
Maybe that's
I'm
a
just playing
an
it
example,
like the
but
stupid
I don't
way.
know.
It's just weird, but
We'll have to ask an official
Yeah,
or
let's
a couple
ask.
officials and see what the ruling on that is. But that was an interesting point from that game. Just some other facts from this. This is Lima Central Catholic's first year back in the NWC after a stint from 2006 to 2012. And
because they play independent for
They were.
a long time.
they were the Notre Dame
about
of
10 years.
Northwest Ohio football. Yeah, they were. I couldn't imagine, speaking of being independent, North Central's kind of ran into this problem, scheduling. You know how hard it probably is to find games to schedule if you're an independent team? Just incredible. But anyways, in the second half, just another key play was after exchanging a couple of possessions back and forth, there was a drive, and one of the huge scores was due to a fake because Barraza was getting all the attention throughout the game, and they had ran a special formation where they lined up Barraza and had him do something that they don't typically do, and they ended up having Trevin Baxter wide open for a touchdown. But again, I just want to say that's the Barraza effect because I mean it really is.
All eyes are on him.
They are, and though he didn't have his typical video game numbers, he still contributed in other ways, and this was just one of them. I mean, using him as a decoy opens up other guys, and they do a really good job at that. So, you guys have any other final comments before we're done with this one?
Nope. No, sir.
But big game this week for the Bulldogs.
This is one of those games where we just wish we could just take a time out and just go watch this game right here.
I tell you what, I hope Bluffton's not wearing their Christmas theme like last time.
Oh, man, they regretted that one. I guess one last thing I did have to say was I'm glad Columbus Grove finally had to fight a little bit at the end of the game because they're going to need a little bit of that experience coming into the next couple weeks here, especially this week against Bluffton. So it's nice that LCC made them work for it a little bit because that's something they have not had much at all this year is being tested.
All right, well, let's move on to the next game, and we're looking at the Green Meadows Conference action here. Tenora at Paulding, and we were at this one live, covering with Tenora Rams live. Tenora ended up winning this one 21-18, and this may have been one of the most covered media games in Northwest Ohio football history. Non-playoffs. Incredible. I mean, it was amazing to see the amount of coverage. I think we counted between 6 and 7 radio and video outlets there, plus the newspapers. It was there for that press box was packed. But a couple different things I want to say before we get rolling. Shout out to Mike Hahn from Hahn's Pro Wash. He sponsored, our crew, the NWO Sports Crew's wings on Friday night from CD&J's. The wings were unbelievable. If you really like a smoked wing,
awesome.
they were awesome
And meaty.
Yeah,
just a chintzy little wing.
So it was really nice. So they supplied an extra 48 wings, and that was awesome too. But thanks again to Mike Hahn and Hahn's Pro Wash. The other thing I wanted to say too is just the hospitality from Athletic Director Tyler Aaron was excellent. He's top notch, always making sure things are good to go. But just definitely want to give those guys a shout out because they're very deserving. So thanks to those guys. We're going to get into some stats here. Looking at total offense, Tenora had 290 yards, 293 passing. Paulding had 300 with 254 passing. Turnover battle, Tenora had 0 and Paulding had 0, so that's pretty interesting. Some top players here from Tenora. Quarterback Owen Farrell was 25 of 33, 76%, 286 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Looking at wide receiver, Dylan Shively had probably the game of his career. 7 catches, 125 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns, including the game winner to put Tenora ahead with just a few minutes to go in the game. Wide receiver defensive back Trent DeLarber, 6 receptions, 83 receiving yards. On 4th down, he had a huge play on the defensive side of the ball with Paulding on its last attempt to keep the sticks going on 4th down. Trenton came up with the absolute play of the game, literally, from Tenora Rams Live. And textbook tackle, physical, jarred the ball loose. It actually was in the Paulding wide receiver's hands. And if Trent didn't have that hit just like that, he would have came down with it, and Paulding would have had an opportunity to win the ball game at the end. Yep. But nice job out of him. And running back Cooper Rapogel, 11 carries, 43 rushing yards from Paulding. Quarterback Colton Hunt was 24 of 49, 49%, 254 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Wide receiver Blake Roanhouse, 4 receptions, 92 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Wide receiver Jordan Mans, 12 receptions, 88 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. And defensive lineman Colton Bashore, 8 tackles, 5 sacks on the game. If you get 5 sacks in a game, that's pretty impressive. I don't care who it's against or what it is, but again, Paulding's defensive line, and we're going to get into it here in our discussion, front 7 put the pressure on Tenora's offense all night long. So, guys, we were all there. What are your thoughts on this critical GMC matchup between Tenora at Paulding?
We've been talking about Tenora's offensive line being put through the ringer a bit, and Owen Farrell running for his life a lot. And this game was absolutely no different. Paulding's front 7, like you said, were just a powerhouse. Blitzing linebackers off the end. It just had Tenora's offensive line so confused, it looked like at times. They just were not picking up some of those blocks and open up the road for Colton to end up with 5 sacks and a whole bunch of tackles on top of that. I think Farrell was sacked about 10 different times, which you look at the total yardage. They actually had more yards passing than they did total offense. That's because they had another negative yards on rushing because of all the sacks. Yeah. It was actually a lot worse than, I think it was -3, -6 yards at the end of the game. But there was a lot more yards lost than that on sacks. But they actually did manage to establish a run game a little bit this week, which allowed them to kind of eat some time off the clock and kind of get that rushing offense closer to being even. But one thing I did want to talk about too was the turnover battle being 0-0. There was a very crucial penalty towards the end of the game that saved Tenora in this one. And it was definitely a penalty, definitely roughing the passer. There's no question about it. But
I think it was second and third or 27 or 37.
Yeah, it was a long,
something unmanageable
second down. And they threw the ball, just a deep ball up in the middle of the field. It got picked off. Yeah, it got picked off. Ran back for 15, 20 yards, whatever it was, before he finally just slid, which, good heads-up play by him, but was offset and negated by the roughing the passer call. So a game like this, where it's this tight, that interception definitely would have cost him the game. Yep. So turnover battle being 0-0, there could have been a catastrophe on Tenora's side.
And you said AJ too. Paulding did in fact have 10 sacks sacks in their stats down for the game. So sacked 10 times. It's hard to win ball games when you're getting sacked that many times.
And there was a couple plays where he got rid of the ball as he was going down.
Yeah, there was one throw in particular. And again, like I said, I think Owen Farrell is the real deal. I'm excited to see what he has in the next couple of years because he has a lot of potential. But there was a throw that he made. I believe he was kind of rolling out to the right, if you guys know which one I'm talking about. And he was literally getting sacked. And as he was falling down, he threw it. And I believe he completed the pass too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
completed the pass.
Like DeLarber or somebody.
Yeah, I think it was DeLarber or Bishop or somebody.
But yeah, that was really impressive.
But yeah, for me, it was just physical game. As we mentioned during the broadcast, a lot of chippiness. You could see him out there being
100%.
pretty physical. There was late hits on the quarterbacks on both sides. There was, no questions about them. The referees did a nice job throwing those flags, trying to keep it under control. And I think by throwing those flags, they kept it under control a little bit. But just a physical game, and there was a reason, I guess. We're kind of like, why is everybody here covering this game? Well, we found out why.
Yeah.
I guess they all anticipated the game being this kind of a game and coming down to the wire. And I tell you what, that penalty gave Sonora another shot. I'm going to be honest, kind of an errant throw, in my opinion, by Owen Farrell to throw that ball up in the middle, double coverage, 2 receivers, 2 defensive backs back there, and Shively somehow goes up high points and
nice
comes down with it.
From Shively.
Yeah, comes down with it and then runs it in the end zone. A fabulous finish to that game. And like you said, with DeLarber, Paulding's on the move. Paulding was on the move, and they had 4th down, and DeLarber put a good stick on the Paulding wide receiver and popped the ball out. I think it was Mans, one of the Mans boys, popped the ball out, and then that killed the drive. So fantastic game from everybody there. Everybody was – all the media there got their money's worth, that's for sure.
And fans.
Yeah, and fans.
Yeah.
And the fans.
Yeah.
It was busy.
We have a lot of talking points from this. You guys pretty much hit them all on the head. But, atmosphere was great. And then, as Logan said, great job by Tyler Aaron, the AD at Paulding. I don't know how he orchestrated that media mess, but it all worked out. It was just nice to run in everybody before the game, talking a couple of seconds to all of them here or there. But what a game. What a game. Sonora's defense, I thought, played really well. They limited Colton Hunt. I think both teams had about 300 yards, offensive yards, and about the same amount of plays. But, Sonora's defense, I thought, stepped up really well during this game. And as you guys said, Owen Farrell just continues to get better and better every game, makes the right decisions. As Tony said, when he threw that one up towards the end of the game after Paulding took the lead, I thought actually that was intended for Dominic Graziani.
It kind of did look
it looked like Dom was getting ready to catch it. Then Farrell comes in from the other side and Shively just comes in and just took it to the house. But a heck of a game by that kid. He had a fantastic touchdown in the first half.
Kept his toes in bounds.
Some kind of diving catch.
Yes. So, but he was. Shively definitely had his A game on, but the Rams defense I thought played really well. Passing game seems to be clicking. Obviously, our running game needs a little bit of work. Second straight game,
A lot of bit of work.
Yeah, well, second straight game with negative yards. But as AJ said, when it came down to it, Cooper Replogle needed a couple first downs, and he came through big. One, I think he took off the left side for about 10, 12 yards with a key first down. When Sonora needed actually a first down or two to knock Paulding out of timeout. So, but heck of an atmosphere, heck of a game, and everybody definitely got their money's worth. That was in attendance over there at Paulding. So,
I just want to make 2 last points about Paulding. Some things that really impressed me, but that front 7 from Paulding, it's kind of curious and questioning, how good are they? Because you see the stats, and we know their non-conference schedule was not the greatest, and a lot of those, let's be honest, were stat padding type games. Well, we came in, and the way that they blitzed and they mugged the backers up and moved guys around, it gave Sonora fits all night long, and that's why they had 10 sacks. But those kids are aggressive. Colton Bashore had 5 sacks. Jack Woods was doing Jack Woods things. All those guys on defense were playing pretty well, and I was really impressed with their defense.
I think last year when Paulding came over to Sonora in a similar situation, and the weather was kind of bad, but I think they may have been a little intimidated last year, but this year, they were just ready to knock heads.
They had more confidence.
Oh, absolutely,
coming in this year,
definitely.
I think last year was kind of uncharted territory for Paulding, but this year, after last year having some success, this year they kind of got things rolling, feeling pretty good. You could tell they were just definitely they felt more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely a confident bunch over there.
I think they came out this week looking to knock Tenora off. I think their entire goal was to screw up the GMC standings a little bit because they're kind of sitting on the outside looking in. But they could very easily have thrown a huge wrench into the top of the GMC there.
I tell you, with the win, Tenora clinches at least a share of the GMC, so takes a little bit of pressure off of them. They've got they got that share of the GMC. The only problem is I think they control their destiny a little bit in the playoffs that we'll talk about a little bit later on with a win or a loss this week. But it's good to see them, back-to-back GMC championships.
Yeah. Congratulations to Coach Becker and his staff and the kids. So
yeah, and the last thing I had was on offense from Paulding. Just the quick passes, and you had made comment of it during the game. Did a very nice job at that. I mean, that ball was snapped and released within 2 seconds. I mean, it was out of Hunt's hands right away. They ran a lot of wide receiver screens, which gave Tenora fits all night long. Yeah. I mean, each time they just hurry up, get it out there. The outside blocking on the perimeter from the wide receivers from Paulding was excellent, I thought, and they tore Tenora up in that. And the other thing too with Paulding that I really like to see was the change of tempo. That's another factor in calling an offense that you don't see a lot of teams utilizing there in high school football. You see a lot in college, but that gave Tenora fits as well. They'd hurry up, they'd speed things up, they'd run a few plays, and then they'd slow things back down quite a bit. And I thought they utilized the change of tempo very well. So that was just something else I wanted to comment on. But overall, great game, and like we said, everyone got their money's worth. That's for sure. Let's move on to the next game. Liberty Center at Delta. And, geez, this one, again, Liberty Center just continues to show their dominance in the NWAL. At halftime, Liberty was up 42-0. Total offense, Liberty had 322 yards, 212 rushing. Delta had 147 yards with 136 rushing. Turnover battle, Liberty Center had 0. Delta had 2 interceptions. Some top players from Liberty Center, running back Garrison Cruz, 4 carries, 54 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He had 1 receiving touchdown and 1 reception for 52 receiving yards. So great game out of Garrison. Wide receiver defensive back Cam Colley. Again, this kid is one of the most explosive players in the area. He had 1 reception for 21 receiving yards. He had 1 33-yard pick six on defense, and he had 1 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And just you kind of think for players like that, what they could do on different teams and different offenses. I'm just always curious about that. Everyone and their brother knows Liberty likes to run the ball, but what would Cam Colley do in a Bob Olin offense or a Fairview offense at wide receiver? I mean, I'm sure he would tear things up. So that's always poses an interesting question. Running back Thomas Moeller, 5 carries, 69 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Running back Waylon Rentz, 5 carries, 66 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. So you have the 3-headed monster of running backs there. And quarterback Grady Miller, 3 of 5, 77 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown from Delta. Running back Landon Lintermoot, 21 carries, 106 rushing yards. Surprisingly, he still averaged 5 yards a carry, so pretty good, solid game out of Landon. And running back Marcus Noggle, 9 carries, 22 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So, guys, thoughts on the Liberty at Delta game?
For me, I think like you mentioned, Logan, the 3-headed monster from Liberty Center. I mean, it's just when you have Garrison Cruz, Muller, and Rentz, and they're each literally splitting the carries evenly for the most part, and gaining about the same amount of yards, and each one of them had a touchdown. I mean, that's going to be tough for teams to stop. And I don't know. If they come in there with a double tight wing T and they just run some misdirection stuff, I mean, it's going to be hard to stop those guys.
They're never going to know who has the ball.
Just zip the crisscross guys all over the place, and but Liberty Center just dominated again, and defensively, Lintermoot got 100 yards, but
Delta's not a bad team either. They've been doing pretty well in the NWAL this year. They put up some good fights against some good teams. They're competing very well. Yep. But Liberty Center just
a whole nother level.
Came out and took care of business from the start of the game.
Yeah, when we talked to Coach Vickers and then we asked him, you kind of saw the back half of the schedule here. You had Patrick Henry and Liberty Center. You kind of knew going into those games, it's not a 50-50 game by any means. You've got to play your best games against these good teams to even have a fighting chance. And, you pull for Delta just to see where they match against PH and Liberty Center because, they're still trying to build a program and everything. And what do? I mean, you can't do anything. You just ran into the better team that Friday night and you move on. And if you're, Coach Moeller, you continue to grind heading into the playoffs. And if you're Delta, you're 6-3. I mean, you got 1 week left. You could finish 7-3 this season. I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, even though you pretty much got defeated pretty handily against PH and Liberty Center in back-to-back weeks, you have a chance to, head into the playoffs with a 7-3 record, and that's a darn good season for the Delta Panthers. So
we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into the playoff stuff, but it's almost maybe if Delta kind of foresaw this a little bit with Liberty Center and maybe didn't push some of their guys as hard as they necessarily could have, knowing that they've got a big matchup this week. Maybe they kind of held back just a little bit to make sure they come out of it healthy. Because the last thing you want is Lintermood or somebody to get hurt against Liberty Center when it's not even going to be a game anyway,
right,
and then lose them for Week 10 where they have major playoff implications this week.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Keith, Delta went 3-7 last year.
I think
turned it around to go 7-3 this year, or
Yeah.
quite possibly go 7-3 if they win this week. Just a great turnaround for the Delta program.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Back to the Green Meadows Conference. We're looking at Wayne Trace at Fairview. Fairview ended up winning this one 34-20 at halftime. Fairview was up 13-12, and we know that Wayne Trace defense is stingy. Fairview scored more points on Wayne Trace in one game than the entire GMC has on the year. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
going back, the team that scored the points on Wayne Trace came back in Week 1 in conference play, which would be Week 4 in the season, against Paulding, who I believe scored 3 touchdowns. So other than that, no one has scored touchdowns until this point. So pretty impressive. Looking at total yards for this game, Fairview had 494 yards, 347 passing. Wayne Trace had 346 yards, 208 passing. Turnover battle, Fairview had 3 interceptions. Wayne Trace had 2 with 1 fumble and 1 interception. Some top players from Fairview. Quarterback William Zedike was 21 of 35, good for 60%. 347 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He did have 3 interceptions, 17 carries for 61 rushing yards. Wide receiver Logan Olinger, 6 receptions, 154 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He had 12 carries for 64 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, so really running the ball a lot with Logan. Wide receiver Gavin Mead, 7 receptions, 75 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. So some top players from Wayne Trace. Quarterback Cole Moorhead, 14 of 28, 50%, 208 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. He did have 1 interception, and he had 20 carries for 101 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver defensive back Clay Stoller, 4 receptions, 75 receiving yards. He had 1 receiving touchdown, and he also contributed on defense with a 70-yard interception returned for a touchdown on defense. Wide receiver Amos Sin also had 5 receptions for 61 receiving yards. So, guys, this was a matchup going into last week that I thought could get pretty interesting, and it surely did. This game was close at halftime. Wayne Trace brought their A game. I said if they were going to have a shot in this, their offense has to produce, and it did. I mean, that's probably the most yards of offense they've had probably nearly all year. We know that Wayne Trace is always known for their defense, but really showed up. And then Fairview, same thing. I mean, they were able to put up 34 points of offense on a tough Wayne Trace defense. So it's kind of the battle of, Wayne Trace's high-powered offense, or Fairview's high-powered offense versus Wayne Trace's stout defense. So, guys, thoughts on the Wayne Trace at Fairview game?
Yeah, heck of a battle over there at Wayne Trace. But yeah, I was kind of surprised too that Wayne Trace put up as many points as what they did against Fairview, and vice versa. You always like to see the high-powered offense against a stingy defense and see what the outcome is. But William Zedike, I mean, there's nothing that this kid can't do. It seems like another 347 yards. I think he's ahead of the nearest GMC quarterback by about 600 or 700 yards in the conference. I mean, it's just an amazing gap for that. But on the flip side there, Cole Moore had a fantastic game by him.
Yeah, really good job.
208 yards passing, another 20 carries for 101 yards, so a dual threat there. But, yeah, what a battle over there at Fairview. So the Apaches are going to be a tough out in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I was just even looking at this too. A little surprised that Zedike committed 3 interceptions. I mean, on the year, probably going into this game, I didn't see what the updated stats were, but he was only having 5-6 interceptions on the year, and a couple of those were from the Tenora game and last minute type interceptions.
Right.
But to make 3 interceptions in a game, I mean those are mistakes he doesn't really make. So congrats to the Wayne Trace defense for able to come up with those huge plays.
We talk about turnovers at Wayne Trace in general. Again,
I was waiting for you to talk about that, AJ.
I was letting you guys go at it, but another 5 turnovers between the two teams, with the Wayne Trace involved. It's not surprising that turnovers happen, but it is that it's Zedike committing those. And Wayne Trace, their defense is a very, very powerful defense. I really expected this to be a low-scoring game, similar to Tenora's Wayne Trace. I thought maybe single digits for Wayne Trace, maybe 14 for Fairview. I was not expecting 34 points and 20. I didn't think the offenses were going to be able to do that much damage to each other.
Well, at halftime, you had it nail right on the head there at halftime,
yeah.
but they both made adjustments at halftime and got out there and scored some more points. But Fairview, like you said, Logan's going to be a tough out when it comes to the playoffs. Whoever matches up against them is going to have a fight on their hands. And I'm going to say the same thing of Wayne Trace. If I don't know, Wayne Trace going to make the playoffs? They're going to get in. It's going to be close.
I think they're still in the hunt, I believe, and I know we'll get to that here in a little bit too. So,
but it's that defense is stout. And I just, you know
what other stat pops off this to me? Between Zedike and Ollinger, Zedike had 61 rushing yards, or Olinger had 64 rushing yards. So, I mean, that in itself, impressive that they were able to establish the run game a little bit.
Got a little bit of a background on what was going on there. They actually used Ollinger as more of a, I guess, wildcat quarterback at the end of the game to try to burn off some time on the last drive. So that's where some of his rushing yards came from, was like the last drive, trying to do what they didn't do against Sonora, is burn off the clock with the run game.
I mean, I think if you're Fairview, I don't think it matters how you do it. It's as long as you can do it and get it done.
Yeah,
so.
Put whoever you got to put back there to get some yards on the ground, because you got to burn off the clock, and having just a pass game obviously relies very much on those completions, and if they're not making them.
I mean, if that works and it's unconventional, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's a good job out of Coach Rakes, and we know Coach Rakes has been doing his best to try to get them to establish that run attack, and it's good to see that clicking for the Apaches. Like Tony said, I think they're going to be a really tough out come playoff time for sure. Last game here, game recaps. We're looking at Van Wert at Kenton. Van Wert won this shootout 45-44. At halftime, Van Wert had 14, Kenton had 16, so that's a lot of points in the second half. Total yards, Van Wert had 469, 250 passing. Kenton had 511 yards, 379 passing. Turnover battle, Van Wert had 2 with 1 fumble, 1 interception. Kenton had 3 with 2 fumbles and 1 interception. Some top players from Van Wert, quarterback Briston Wise was 20 of 34, 59% passing, 250 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns with 1 interception. 26 carries for 140 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and he had 5 total touchdowns for the game. Running back Xavier Kelly, 11 carries, 83 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He had 2 receptions for 55 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Wide receiver Micah Cohen, 7 receptions, 93 receiving yards. And wide receiver Nate Gearhart, 7 receptions, 69 receiving yards, and he had 1 receiving touchdown. So, guys, thoughts on this big-time win for Van Wert Cougars?
Man, nearly 100 yards or 100 points scored and nearly 1,000 yards gained in this game. That's what an outing for both teams. But for Van Wert to come away with this win is awesome. They need a few of these wins. They've kind of had a little bit of a struggle here. So nice to see them get back to be in the win column again against a tough fight like this.
That second half of the year, the Weiss quarterback for Van Wert just exploded. Yeah. He's had a heck of a last 3 or 4 games. But a thrilling victory by Van Wert. And I don't think there's a more unlucky team around this area than Kenton. Oh, my word. They're 1-8, I think. I had to set it up. That's where the audio came from in the background. Anytime you go to, Max Prep, something always pops up. But yeah, they've just had heartbreak after heartbreak. You look down their schedule: lost by 10, lost by 3, lost by 6, lost by 3. I mean, it's
against some really good teams.
Really good teams, yeah. So
win by 1 against OG, another win by 1. It's like, man, they are
like right there. They just can't get over that hump. But man, what a thrilling win for the Cougars.
Yeah, I mean, Van Wert's down 38-17 in the fourth quarter and just comes back to win. I mean, just wow. I mean, that's a way to buckle down and get a win. I mean, it's just but, AJ, I'm surprised you skipped over that. 5 turnovers in the game. Just man, oh, man. And
but I think that's going to happen, too.
With three turnovers.
With the offense like that, too. Yeah. I mean, you're bound to commit turnovers at that point. So.
Yeah. But, Van Wert needed that one.
All right. Well, that concludes our game recaps. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Play of the Week and more. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're on to Play of the Week, sponsored by Titan Sports. Titan Sports offers revolutionary wearable GPS technology for high school football and strength and conditioning programs, giving you all the metrics to get the most out of your athlete. Guys, we had a lot of great plays sent in this week, and every single one was top-notch. So we're going to feature some of the honorable mention selections now that didn't quite make the cut, so here they are.
So let's go, boom, boom.
All right, deep, old crew and Collie standing on their 5-yard line.
Good kick.
Kick comes down at the 3. Return with a cordon of
This could
blockers.
be
Finds
big.
a seam.
It
He's
will
wide
be big.
open. He's going to break it all the way. One man left.
Adios,
Two blockers
amigos.
out front. They're not going to catch him. Collie turns on the afterburners and pounds him. Hangs his way. What an explosion.
Wow, let's watch Cam Collie.
98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown.
Field far side. Farrell, straight back drop, looks under pressure. Flushed out, fires in the corner, shot! No! I think he came up with it. Touchdown! Oh, wow. What edge. The back of the end zone from 8 yards out.
Holy moly.
Farrell
What a play.
again to hit.
As I always say, there can only be one. Play of the week this week goes to Wayne Trace defensive back Clay Stoller against the Fairview Apaches. Clay had a great read and break on the pass from one of the best quarterbacks in Northwest Ohio. Nice job out of Clay, stepping up and making the big-time play in this huge GMC matchup. Here's the play right now. Guys, you've seen the play. What are your thoughts on this great play by Clay Stoller?
You said it. Just a great read, great step up, and then taking it to the house. I mean, that's what you always want to do.
A great technique. I mean, he made the read and he stepped right in front and he was going.
Yeah, those flats throws across the field, like the far side of the field, are always dangerous like that. They've got to be quick, and they almost have to be set up a little bit to make sure that linebacker or that inside corner is back a little bit, because if he's starting to encroach, you're asking for it to be picked off. And we've seen that a couple of times over the last few years. I know Antwerp did a very similar thing with Carson Alderman last year.
Took it about 98 yards.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those plays thrown across the field are always dangerous, and Fairview, took the brunt of that one.
Yep. Nice read by Clay Stoller.
Absolutely.
So again, play of the week sponsored by Titan Sports is going to go to Clay Stoller of Wayne Trace, defensive back. So nice job to Clay Stoller. All right, we are on to player of the week from week 9. A lot of great talent this week, and there was a decent conversation held. It was between probably 2 to 3 different players, but we finally have our selection. So I'm going to roll through who made the list, and these guys will kind of talk about someone who was catching their eye for potential candidate for player of the week. Up first is quarterback from Antwerp, Hampton Rogie, running back from Ayersville, Torrin Knieven, quarterback from Edgerton, Mason Eldon, Fairview wide receiver Logan Olinger, Wayne Trace quarterback Cole Moorhead, Tenora wide receiver Dylan Shively, Paing defensive lineman Colton Bashore, Patrick Henry quarterback Lincoln Krieger, Van Wert quarterback Briston Wise, Eden quarterback Kyler Sapp, and Columbus Grove running back Trenton Barraza. So who wants to kick things off with someone that was catching their eye?
For me, I really thought Hampton Rogie, going 29-37, 401 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and come from behind win against Ayersville at Ayersville. Very impressive to bring the team back to win that game.
And an interesting fact, as we talked off camera here, that actually is the all-time career high for a game for a Antwerp quarterback.
I could not believe that. I would have thought Carson Ultimus would have thrown for over 400
Keaton
yards.
Ultimus.
Or Keaton Ultimus, too. Both of them were great quarterbacks.
Yes, that's the record that he broke. And that tidbit was from the Antwerp Athletic Booster site, so thank them for that. But, yes, hard to believe.
Yeah, one I was looking at a little bit from Tenora there, Dylan Shively. Not so much because of the stats, but because of the impact he had on the game. He had 125 yards, which is great. But the impact he had on the game, making a diving catch in the end zone, going up to the high point and taking it away from the defenders when it's thrown into double or triple coverage. He had some very, very key plays that kept the Rams alive in that game and ultimately helped win them that game. So he had a huge impact on Tenora and the GMC as a whole.
And then, Keith, you had a player as well, too, right?
Yes. Mine was Edgerton quarterback Mason Eldon, 15-21, 212, and 4 touchdowns, taking sub there for Maddox Baker. Heck of a first start for Mason, so that was my nominee.
And this week, our Player of the Week, brought to you by BSN Sports, is going to go to Van Wert quarterback Briston Wise. When you throw for 20 of 34, 250 passing yards, 5 total touchdowns for the game, rush for another 140, and you lead your team back to a last couple minute comeback.
Yeah,
they were down quite a bit. What you said, they were down what in the third quarter?
They were down 31-17.
31-17 at the end of the third. So
38-17 at the beginning of the fourth.
Wow, that's just amazing.
That's a heck of a comeback. And Briston Wise was at the forefront of that. So congratulations to him. And what's even better than this is they got their team a win. So nice job out of Van Wert quarterback Briston Wise. And the Player of the Week will receive NWO Sports gear courtesy of BSN Sports. So again, we appreciate the support from sales rep Jim Garris and Rob Held. They're great supporters of coverage for athletics in Northwest Ohio and do a lot to help us out. So we appreciate their support. All right, guys, we are getting into power rankings for Week 10. And honestly, not too much change. There's a couple little shakeups here and there, but we'll roll through from number 26 all the way down to 1. So let's get things going here. 26 is Swanton, 25 North Central, 24 Hilltop, 23 Montpelier, 22 Bryan, 21 Ayersville will save the top 20.
Yep, good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coming in at number 20, Antwerp. Number 19, Hicksville. Number 18, Wayne Trace. Number 17, Wasion. Number 16, Paulding will save the top 15.
Looks good.
Yeah, Paulding definitely plays tough. So if they had another win or two, maybe they could be very close to the top 10. But yeah,
it's just the only thing that I guess we're good. I'm good with it.
Number 15, Edgerton. Number 14, Van Wert. Number 13, Archbold. Number 12, Evergreen, I'm sorry. Number 11, Lipsick will save the top 10. Thoughts on this group here?
Yeah, nothing's really changed for that one.
I feel like there's not really much to say at the end of the year because, really, all these teams kind of shake out on where they actually belong. So breaking the top 10, number 10, we have Fairview. Number 9, Delta. Number 8, Tenora. Number 7, Eden. Number 6, Napoleon will save the top 5.
And Napoleon, just with all that talent here, the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's just frustrating. Sure, it's even more frustrating for the program and Coach Swery, but it just seems like you look up and Napoleon's 4-5, and it's like, man, what's going on here? But yeah, I think that's pretty good, Logan. But people say, yeah, well, Fairview should be ranked higher. Well, Fairview lost to Delta and Sonora.
Yeah.
So it's pretty well ranked itself there.
I don't know that Napoleon should be 6. It's just my personal opinion. Only being 4-5. I'm sorry, you can't be in the top 10 if you're 4-5.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
I know who
this.
they played, but
do you think Eden would beat Napoleon?
I don't know.
I think there's still a lot of questions.
I don't know. I don't know, but
so I guess that is what it comes down to is, do you really think Napoleon would lose to Tenora or Delta or Fairview? Like, I think they would still be ranked above them. I know they're 4 and 5, but I got to agree with Logan on that. Like, if you actually put them on a field and matched up, I think Napoleon still comes away with those wins.
That's how I look at it.
Would Van Wert beat Napoleon? Van Wert's 4 and 5. They're ranked 14th. You got Napoleon at 4 and 5.
I think Van Wert and Napoleon might be a good game. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, that's valid. I just always, like AJ said, I mean, when I look at these, obviously you look at records, you look at strength of schedule and everything, but I think obviously head-to-head matchups is huge too, but if you hypothetically match 2 teams up to play on a football field, what would happen? So, I mean, I think that's something that I try to use to determine these. But we're going to look at the top 5, and we have a newcomer in the top 5, first time all year. Number at 5, we have Defiance. The newcomer this power rankings is number 4, OttawaGlandorf, number 3, Patrick Henry, number 2, Liberty Center, number 1, Columbus Grove. So thoughts on this group here?
OttawaGlandorf's definitely tough.
Yeah, they're just an overtime loss to, I think, Van Wert, actually, to be on a 4-game winning streak. So,
which is ironic that Van Wert's team we're talking about being clear down in 14. But I tell you what, Defiance, they got to watch out this week because OttawaGlandorf could be on a roll to beat Defiance here.
Defiance having trouble scoring and having trouble defending the opposition. So
I think you look too at OttawaGlandorf, and some may ask why I bumped them up all the way to 4. Well, they just beat Salina 2 weeks ago, 21-7. Salina just whooped on Defiance, pretty solid, and Defiance is a solid team. And then they also blanked Lima Bath a couple weeks ago, 26-0. I mean, those are 2 really quality teams there. They had a tough loss to a really good St. Mary's team, 16-21. So, I think they're very deserving of being in the top 5. I mean, their defense is solid, and they've beat some big-time teams, especially in the meat of their WBL schedule.
Yeah, it's one of the teams that seems to be getting better as the season progresses. So,
and again, you look at who's below them that they would match up against. Like I said, Defiance, that's going to be a really hard fight for them. Napoleon, again, if they would face off against Napoleon, I think OG comes out on top. So I think them being bumped up there, I don't think it's a bad call.
No, not at all.
No, and it's amazing to see Ottawa-Glandorf in the top 5 after last year. They went 1-9.
1-9, I believe.
Yeah,
so
1-9. Lost last year to Defiance boys.
Yes.
All right, last segment here before we go to break. We're looking at Matthews Players of the Week. On offense, he has Fairview wide receiver Logan Olinger. Reasoning is Hicksville has really struggled on defense this year, so I think that will lead to a big night for Olinger. And again, this last week, Olinger played pretty well for the Apaches. On defense, Matthew has David Organ from Archbold. Reasoning is Bryan has really struggled on offense this year, so I think Oregon will have a big night and disrupt the Bryan offense. So great analysis out of him. Keep an eye out for those players because they're bound for big things. All right, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we are back with playoff football breakdown. All kinds of things that are special for this podcast, so stay tuned. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. Remax Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. We are back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to playoff football breakdown. So we're going to break down who's in, who's out, who's in the hunt. And that's going to come with help from Drew Pastor's Fantastic 50 website. Again, last year we were able to have Drew Pastor on. Unfortunately, this year He's not doing any interviews because he has laryngitis. But again, really interesting guy, and it's a website that we really look to for a lot of info. If you're a football fanatic, you better check it out. And that's, again, Drew Paster's Fantastic 50. So we're going to break things down by each division, each region, and we're going to give you the inside scoop on everything. So let's get things kicked off. We're looking at Division 3, Region 10. We're looking at Defiance, and currently Defiance has clinched a playoff spot. So looking at Drew Paster's website, depending on the next game, if Defiance wins, they have a 99% chance for a home game. So I mean, a lot's on the line. If you can get that home game in the playoffs, that's critical to helping you get out of the first couple of rounds. So, and if they win, they're looking at possibly playing Midview 5-4. If they lose, they only have a 7% chance for a home game, and they would play currently right now Revere 5-4. So, guys, thoughts on Defiance's playoff spot?
Number one, Defiance needs a win. They've been scored 56-6 in the last 2 weeks. So,
yeah,
Coach Cooper, number one, needs to just have the boys focus Friday and just get out of Dodge with a win. But otherwise, as which Coach Fairchild or you guys can elaborate, possible playoff travel time is just, if everything falls into place, is just unheard of for the Bulldogs.
According to Drew Pasteur, they play Revere, which is south of Cleveland, almost in Akron. Be a 3-hour drive for Defiance for a first-round playoff game. Jeez,
this is crazy.
That's ridiculous. But yeah, Defiance has got to have a win. I mean, they don't want to travel that far. They want to play at home and make Midview, which is who they play, which is just on this side of Cleveland. So they want to they got to win. I mean, this is a big win for them. They have to come away.
Defiance is going to have their hands full. OttawaGlandorf is coming into town, and Drew Pasteur has them selected to lose by 6. So Defiance is going to have to play their best football they have all season. And like you said, Tony, the travel time when you get to playoff football, that can really make a huge difference. When you're on the bus for hours at a time, you figure you're going to have to screw up your routine, which we had seen a couple weeks ago. Defiance got their routine thrown off. Yeah. They weren't at school on Friday. They had a bad loss to was it Bath, I believe? Yeah, Lima Bath. So you want that consistency. So I think it's a must-win for Defiance. I think it's going to be close. And obviously we'll get a little bit more into projections and predictions later on in the podcast.
And as Logan said, if you go to this site, Drew Pasteur's site, just make sure you have about 90 minutes of free time or more.
Oh, yeah.
You're just going to spend a long time on this thing.
See, where he gets you is he's got all those clickable links. So you get onto whatever team you're looking at, and then you just click on another one, and you just keep going and going and going, and you just keep looking at all the stats and analytics.
Next thing you know, you're about 8 clicks deep in the rabbit hole.
That's right.
What was I originally looking at?
Yeah, it was 6:30. Now it's 9:30. You're like, where the heck did the 3 hours go?
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, Defiance looking at playoff. That's a tough region too. Toledo Central Catholic's in it again. Continue to win state championship after state championship. So it'll be interesting to see how seeding plays out in that region. All right, let's move on to the next one. We are looking at Division 4, Region 14 here, and we're looking at OttawaGlandorf first. OttawaGlandorf has clinched a playoff spot, and I just want to say congrats to the Titans, considering the last 2 seasons they've gone 3-17, and like Tony had mentioned before, they went 1-9 last year, so a great turnaround. Coach Schreiner's, again, doing tremendous things there and continues to push forward and is able to get the Titans back on track this season. So that's just awesome to see. All right, looking at a breakdown here, we're looking at OG. OG, according to Drew Pasteur, has if they win the next game, a 72% chance for a home game, and they would potentially play River Valley, currently 5-4. They give them a 50% chance to play River Valley. If they lose, no shot at home game, and have a 41% chance to play a 6-3 Clyde team. So, guys, thoughts here?
It's awesome to see OG have the opportunity to get into playoffs. Hopefully they can pull off. They're playing against Defiance, so if they pull off a win and get in, if they don't, then it looks like they're probably going home.
That's the thing.
Or no, they're in. I'm sorry, they're in even if they lose. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, they're in it even if they lose. Just depend. They don't have to go that far. They're only going to Clyde.
Yeah,
that's not far.
That's not that
stone's
far.
throw away for them.
Much more doable.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're like, well, hopefully they can get a win. Well, it's like, well, I guess it's Defiance to play, so it's like, who do you want to win here?
Get in. I mean, but they're in either way. So
that's something AJ I guess we discussed off camera, which I think was more about Defiance, but you look at the strength of schedule for OG, it says they're the number 3 team in Division 4 as far as strength of schedule. Well, that's just amazing.
Yeah,
that they
all of Division 4.
Yes.
AJ, any comments from you?
Oh no, that was kind of it right there. Just they've played competition all year long. Obviously, they're sitting at number 3, the hardest schedule in the entire division. So they know what they're doing as far as competition level goes.
And just a quick point before we get into the next team, and the next team is going to be Napoleon. But I know Coach Swery said they were excited that Cleveland Glenville was not in this region anymore. So everyone in Division 4, Region 14 is excited about that. So going into the next one, we're looking at Napoleon. They are currently in the hunt. They have not clinched as of yet. But according to Drew Pastor, next game, they have for sure a 100% chance if they win. He's given them a 56% chance to play Clearview, who's currently 7-1. If they lose, still gives them a 69% chance in, but at one of the bottom seeds, he's projecting barely sneaking in at 16, and they play Perkins 8-1, and Sandusky Perkins is a solid team. Just looking at how they fanned out, the only loss this season is to an Edison team, which actually Tenora had scrimmaged, and Edison is the real deal, and they have multiple state wrestlers winning championships all the time. So definitely a powerhouse, a lot of physical athletes too. So Napoleon will have their hands full. So guys, thoughts on Napoleon's playoff?
Just Napoleon's going to have to, they're going to play. If they win, they can get in, and they're going to have to travel all the way basically over to Cleveland, to this side of Cleveland, again to Clearview. If they lose and they sneak in, then they're going to travel to Sandusky. So, kudos, and hopefully they can get in.
And Drew Pastor gives them a 68% chance to win by 7 against this week in Sylvania Southview.
Yeah, because they've come in struggling as well, sort of like Defiance. I mean, Napoleon's lost 3 of their last 4 guys. So, you look at the talent on both sides of the ball, and you think, boy, how is Napoleon struggling? But yeah, here we are. You looked, and we said they're 4-5. So,
I think if you're Napoleon in this game, I think you go into with the mentality of, it's win or go home, because if you're projected on that last half, 13, 14 seed on the way out, there's a lot of weird things that can happen. And there's I know Drew Pastor gave percentages in their favor, but why risk it? So, I think Napoleon's got to play their best ball and try to get things turned around.
You might as well treat it as a playoff game, because
might as well.
There is a chance that you could not. You've seen crazier things happen. You depending on people to win and lose, but just go out and win, and you don't have to worry about it. Especially if you're going to be maybe towing that 16-17 line before the end of Friday night. So,
all right, moving on to the next team. Looking at Van Wert, they are currently in the hunt. They have not clinched at this point. Looking at Van Wert, according to Drew Pastor, with a win this week against Elida, which he's giving them an 84% chance to win by 15 points. They are 99% chance in, and it looks potential 14 seed playing an Ontario team that is currently 8-1 with 44%. If they lose, he's only giving them an 8% chance of being in the playoffs. And if they do play, they're looking at playing the 1 seed in Sandusky Perkins. So, guys, thoughts on Van Wert?
Yeah, Van Wert gets in the playoffs. It's one of those teams that if you're an opposing coach, you're probably like, I don't want to face these guys in the first round. Yeah. They're so dangerous. So, but yeah, hopefully the Cougars can sneak in here, because they are a dangerous team.
They are. They can light up the scoreboard too, and with a quarterback like Briston Wise, who can do it all and passing the ball and running the ball, they're definitely a threat. And they could be a team, if they do sneak into the playoffs, they could play upsetter.
Yep. Oh yeah, they play Elida, so just don't overlook the Elida. So.
Yep. Yeah. Again, traveling a ways if they have to go. So.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Wauseon is currently in the hunt as of right now. According to Drew Pastor, they have a 92% chance if they're in. Well, obviously, if they beat a Liberty Center team, but it's going to be tough. If they lose, it's for sure they're out. So it's a win or go home. Wauseon is a must-win in order to get into the playoffs, but definitely going to have their hands full with Liberty Center. So, guys, thoughts here?
Unfortunately, I'm thinking they're going to be on the outside of this one, because I don't think they have a shot at beating Liberty Center this week. Unfortunately, that's who they finished the season off with. And it's not going to be a great memory for some of the seniors to go out there and get beat up by Liberty Center. But not a bad season. It's not where Wauseon typically is, but it could be worse for them. They've played some very tough teams this year. The NWAL is kind of all over the place this year as far as 2 through 7 or 2 through 8 or whatever it is. So Wauseon's kind of fallen into the lower part of it this year.
Yeah, I agree, AJ. That their playoff chances now are like 1%, according to Drew, and they have to have at least a 4-6 record to have any chance. And playing Liberty Center, if they can knock off Liberty Center, they're going to pick up a ton of points.
They're definitely deserving.
They'll probably get in then. I mean, that's because they'll pick up a ton of points by beating Liberty Center. But the chances of that happening are probably slim to none, I'm going to guess.
Yep. And Bryan has been eliminated from playoff contention in Division 4, Region 14. Looking at Division 5, Region 15, kicking things off with Liberty Center. Again, Liberty's sitting very well right now. According to Drew Pasteur, you talk about strength of schedule, number 3 in all of Division 5 out of 106 teams. Again, looking if they win, they're projected the 2 seed, and they either way, whether they win or lose, they have a really good shot at winning. They're looking to host twice, and that's always solid, especially playoff time. If they win, they're looking at playing Utica. They're currently 4-5. Gives them a 66% chance of playing them. If they win, if they lose, I don't really think that's going to happen. Unfortunate for the Wauseon Indians, but they would play Fredericktown with a 76% chance. So most likely looking at Utica and a first-round matchup for the Tigers. So, guys, thoughts here?
What's crazy for Liberty Center, according to what Drew has down here, they're projected to host 100%. They're going to be home twice.
Yeah,
win or lose this week, which to me is kind of crazy. If you lose to a 3-6 team, 3-6 Wauseon, I wouldn't think you'd be hosting twice. But
got enough points.
But yeah, they've taken care of business all year. So I think they're going to be at home twice. That'd be a playoff game to go rock that house.
Yeah,
they're one of lights to show off too.
Yeah. They're one of only 2 teams in our coverage area that have clinched 2 home games. The other one we'll talk about here in a little while when we get to Columbus Grove. But Liberty Center, they've living up to the hype this year. The only trouble they've run into really the entire season was Patrick Henry. So and I think it's a good thing for them that they did because they're going to need a little bit of that motivation coming into playoffs. But man, it's going to be fun to watch them progress this year.
Yeah, anytime you can have 2 playoff games in that atmosphere at Liberty Center, I mean, the crowd behind you, that's good for Coach Muller and the Tigers.
All right, moving on to the next team. Looking at Archbold, they have clinched a playoff spot. And my first thoughts of this are how huge is the win over Tenora? I know that was a controversial win with the field goal and all that, and that's kind of been put behind. But looking at seeding and points, to see where things finally play out at the end of the season is really interesting to me. So with a win, Drew Pasteur's predicting win or loss, they're 100% in, obviously. But if they win, they have a 35% chance of playing Liberty Benton, currently 8-1. If they lose, they are looking to play Norwayne with a 39% chance, and they play a Bryan team, which they're favored to win by 31 points and 98% chance to win, according to Drew Pasteur. So, guys, thoughts on the Blue Streaks?
Well, like you said, Logan, I think the Sonora win helped them out tremendously since Sonora's been on a tear ever since then, basically. And, they need to win because they don't want to travel because if they happen to lose and have to travel to Norway, and if that's where they go, it's only a 39% chance that's who they play, but that's another 2-hour and 45-minute drive. It's clear down south of Columbus.
Coach Fairchild over there with the GPS.
It's just Norway is literally just east of Akron. So I mean, that's where you might as well just play all of our games at the
Hey, any of you teams out there, Tony's gonna volunteer to drive the bus.
Yeah, I'll drive the bus. Yeah, absolutely.
Brad McNally down there.
Yeah, we'll be driving the bus. All right, we'll be driving it to the hotel and staying the night. I ain't driving home in that. Gee whiz.
Coach Garmin.
I mean, it's a whole other conversation, which we'll probably have next week or so. We can put it as a hot take. I think we talked about it last year, but I just find it with the expanded playoffs, and we won't go too much into this because I think we did talk about it last year, but with the expanded playoffs, some of these distances these teams drive in the opening round is just absurd. This is ridiculous. Just nuts.
And that's why I'm kind of pointing it out. It's just, to me, a first-round playoff game, you shouldn't have to drive 2 hours and 45 minutes.
No, right. It should be a 90 minutes or under first round. Not even that, really.
Yeah. I mean, because you're talking about, and I don't want to blow this up and get into it too much, but when you're playing a first round, you're supposed to be playing the teams that are around you.
Right. Yes.
And then, your region, and you've got the whole I mean, from Cleveland to Northwest Ohio is a region. I mean, come on.
It's a really big region.
It's a really big region.
Yeah.
Really big region.
Yeah, we've talked about, 6 teams so far, and of those 6 teams, I think 4 of them have a chance of traveling over an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours.
At least.
Some 3,
Yeah.
3 hours.
The only
to
ones that
first
aren't
round,
traveled,
so-
that may not travel far, is Napoleon, out of the ones we've talked about that might be on the road. So, anyway.
All right, looking at the next team, Delta. Delta is currently in the hunt, and they actually control their own destiny, and this is where this gets interesting. So Delta plays Evergreen this week. Evergreen, as we're going to get into, is in the same position. So basically, winner goes to the playoff, loser goes home. So interesting matchup between those two NWL rivals. Looking at Drew Pasture's website, if Delta wins, 100% chance in. If they win, they're looking at playing Norwayne with a 56% chance. If they lose, see, this is kind of contraindicating each other because on Joe Itel, it says that they could still finish out, I believe, or they control their own destiny. But if they lose, according to Drew Pasture, it gives them a 100% chance in no matter what. And they
don't even change.
Yeah, it doesn't even change. And they're looking at playing Norway. So looks like they have a pretty good shot at playing Norway regardless. And looks like they barely sneak in. So, guys, thoughts on this, on Delta here?
I think it'd be great for Delta and the program that Coach Vickers is trying to rebuild over there for them to qualify for the playoffs. I mean, and it's a huge game. Basically, it is like a playoff game Friday as well for both teams, as you said, Logan. But, yeah, if Panthers could come out on top here, I think that'd just be huge for that community.
Yeah, call it a wild card game. Realistically,
yeah, really.
That's kind of what it's like.
Yep.
All right, and then from Division 5, Region 15, Swanton has been eliminated. We're going to get into Division 6, Region 22, and the first team we're looking at is Patrick Henry. They have clinched a top 8 seed, and they have also clinched a home game. So looking at Patrick Henry in this region, if they win, they have a 42% chance to play Crestview Ashland 4 and 5. If they lose, Drew Pasture's given them a 43% chance to play a 4 and 5 Cary team. So, guys, thoughts here?
I don't think they're going to have any trouble in Week 10 versus Swanton. So pretty much pencil in Crestview Ashland. So
yeah, I think they'll have a good chance of pulling off the home playoff win as well.
I think that's one of the teams that could go really deep in the playoffs. Yeah. And I guess we'll talk about more in depth, next week and whatnot. But yeah, Patrick Henry's one of those could make another Final Four trip this year.
Yeah, and they have a really good shot at hosting actually 2 home games, giving a 93% chance to host twice. And again, anytime you can host more at home, it just makes everything so much better. It keeps teams on track. You just eliminate distractions. And again, I mean, home field advantage, I think personally is huge. I mean, I think we've seen it time and time again, especially if you pack a crowd, and everyone knows Patrick Henry Patriots are going to bring a crowd every game. I mean, that just plays to their advantage.
Then you look at Region 22, guys, like it is one of the tougher regions in our area. You got Bluffton, Ottawa Hills, Cary, even though they're 4 and 5. Cary's
never a team you want to play in the
program.
playoffs. They are.
They got Fairview, Tenora, even Paulding's down there. So, but Region 22 is a tough region.
All right, looking at the next team here, Fairview has clinched the top 8 spot and a home game, which is impressive, especially out of the Apaches, who last year were just a couple win type team. Coach Rakes has already turned them around in year number 2, so great job out of them. According to Drew Pasture, they have a home game, but if they win, they are given a 35% chance to play Cary. If they lose, they have a 34% chance of playing Spencerville. And this week they are playing Hicksville. Drew Pasture's given them a 97% chance to win by 29 points. So thoughts on the Apaches?
Definitely deserving of it after they've kind of flipped their program around over there with Coach Rakes, coming up with a very good season here. Potentially, depending on how this week goes, right on the edge of a conference title, on the outside looking in there, but coming in with good playoff percentage with the clinch spot and home game. Great start to the playoffs for them.
According to this, they could play 2 home games, right? Is that
possibility?
Possibly.
Said.
So okay.
So,
well, I mean that's good for Coach Rakes and Fairview.
Yeah, this says that
only a 4% chance.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
But you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance. If they lose, there's a 1% chance. So it's twice. So now, we've been talking about a lot of different teams here already that, were teams that were, say it just like this, were in the toilet bowl last year, and now they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, Fairview, Delta, just teams that were, scraping the bottom of the barrel last year, and now here they are in the playoffs. OG's another one. It's glad to see these teams, making a turnaround and putting Northwest Ohio on the board.
Looking at the next team in Division 6, Region 22, we're looking at the Tenora Rams. According to Drew Pastor and Joe Itel, they have already clinched a playoff spot. But if they win on Friday, they're given a 100% chance of a home game and 42% chance to play Cary. I don't know. Cary must be the popular team for all these teams to play. I don't know how every team can have a shot at playing Cary, but if they lose, Drew Pastor's giving them a 100% chance for a home game.
Yeah.
Projected at the number 7 seed and possibly playing Spencerville with a 38% chance. So it looks like no matter what, Tenora is going to be hosting first round. So
yeah, with a win, he's given them a 29% chance of hosting twice.
And
so
the
that's
thing
crazy.
is, which I hate to bring up, the dreaded pass, but just imagine had Tenora got the win against Archibald,
they'd probably be sitting at about an 80% chance of hosting two
home
through
games.
2 rounds. Yeah.
So obviously you got to win your first game. And, anything can happen in a playoff game, as we saw last year,
right?
Literally. But, yeah, it's just when you look at it, you can't do anything about it, but it's just kind of frustrating when, the program could have a home game possibly. But that's that.
Next team in Division 6, Region 22 is Paulding. They are currently in the hunt. Looking at Paulding, according to Drew Pastor's website, 99% chance with a win. This week they play Antwerp, currently favored to win by 24 and 94% chance to win. If they win this game, they're given a 35% chance to play Ottawa Hills 7-1, which Ottawa Hills is a really tough team. They're taking care of business in the TAC, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. If they lose, they're still given an 80% chance in, and looks like they're barely squeaking in projected at number 16 seed, could be anywhere from 14 on the way out, and they would play Hopewell Loudon 8-0 with a 55% chance. So thoughts here?
We saw Paulding last Friday night, guys, and again, not to be repetitive, but that's one of those teams that if you draw Paulding in the opening round, you're like, oh, my word.
Yeah.
They're going to give you fits on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. So
you just read my mind. That was my first thought is, whatever team Paulding is playing, Paulding's going to have to go into their home stadium, unfortunately, because Paulding doesn't have a high enough seed. But Paulding's another team that could really make some noise come playoff time. And, they've got the athletes. They got the talent. They're coached very well. I suppose Paulding could make some noise in that division. But
very physical.
Very physical, too. And one thing that kind of shocks me, we had talked over and over about the weakness kind of that non-conference schedule. Drew Pastor has their strength of schedule. Let me see where it says it at. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. He had them ranked at 32. Strength of schedule was 78 in D6, so it kind of plays true to that. Next team we're looking at is Evergreen. They're in the hunt. They control their own destiny. Again, a big matchup this week against Delta. According to Drew Pastor, if they win, they're 100% chance in. Looking at seed number 11 and possibly playing Fairview with a 30% chance, so it's very low. If they lose, only a 37% chance in. They're projected anywhere from 15 seed on out. So basically it's a must-win for the Vikings and Coach Bach. It's a win-or-go-home type game. So thoughts here?
No, like we said with Delta, it's going to come down to the wire for these two teams. Whichever team wins makes it. Whichever team loses is out. So both these teams, unfortunately, have to have a win and can't have two winners in a game, so somebody's going home this week.
Well, according to Drew, though, if Delta loses, they're in 100% either way. So it's almost like you want Delta to lose. That way every can get in.
Yeah, I forgot he had them right.
And then everyone's happy.
Yeah, then everybody's happy. But, Coach Bach's doing a heck of a job up there, Evergreen. And, again, another one of those teams that has turned things around, and be awesome to see him get in the playoffs.
Looking at the next team here, we're looking at Wayne Trace. They are currently in the hunt. According to Drew Pastor's website, with a win, they only have a 1% chance of being in. So if they want any shot, they've got to win. They are projected anywhere from 14 seed on out, and they would play Hopewell Loudon, who's currently 8-0 with a 76% chance. So we had actually seen last year, I think it was Wayne Trace, if the team I'm thinking of, they actually came up like half a point short of making the playoffs last season. Yep. And I think Paulding got in that 16 seed. So, again, if they want any shot of making the playoffs, they've got to win this game. They play Ayersville this week, which they have a really good shot. Drew Pastor's projecting him to win by 28, given a 97% chance. So, guys, thoughts on Wayne Trace?
Going to need a lot of miracles, I guess, Friday to have all the dominoes fall correctly for them to get into the playoffs. So, best
I think
of luck.
the biggest problem is they finish the season off with Ayersville, which a win against them is going to give them virtually no points. So it's unfortunately a hard season end to them.
No, yeah, Wayne Trace really needed that win against Fairview. That would have got him. I think would have vaulted him in probably into the playoffs, maybe. But unfortunately, not being able to pull off that win last week. Like you said, AJ Ayersville's not going to help him out enough to get him in, even with a win.
And then in Division 6, Region 22, Hicksville has been mathematically eliminated. Looking at Division 7, Region 26, Columbus Grove has clinched the number 1 seed, so that means 2 home games for them. That's always a good thing. Looking at Drew Pastor's website, if they have a win, they're looking at playing North Baltimore, who's currently 4-5, 94% chance. If they lose, they're still looking at playing North Baltimore 4-5. So it looks like they have a pretty good shot at playing North Baltimore in round 1. So, guys, thoughts on Columbus Grove?
No, that's just been an electric atmosphere, home playoff game. You know, at Columbus Grove be a neat place to be, and you know, they're deserving of the number 1 seed. That's why you've got them ranked number 1, Logan.
Yeah, and Drew Pastor has them ranked number 3 in all of Division 7, which I believe probably number 1 is Marion Local, and number 2, if he's thrown in there, is probably Minster, if I had to guess. Minster's up there too, but the AP poll actually has Columbus Grove as listed as number 2 too. So, Keith, any thoughts?
No, looking for a good playoff run for the Bulldogs again. So,
yeah, big matchup this week again, as we keep alluding to. They play Bluffton. Interesting here. Drew Pastor has Columbus Grove predicted to lose by 1. It's interesting.
Wow.
Tight game.
Hard to beat the same team 3 times. I mean, basically, you played the same. You know, it's not the same team, but
I mean, that's going to be a playoff atmosphere, man.
100%.
Man, that's going to be so awesome down there.
I mean, I guess you look at it. Columbus Grove Columbus Grove won at their place last year, right?
Yeah.
And Bluffton's coming to their place, so be interesting.
All right, looking at the next team in Division 7, Region 26, we're looking at Eden. Eden has clinched a top 8 spot, which indicates a home game for them. Looking at Drew Pastor's website, if they win this week, they have a 100% chance of a home game twice in the projected the 2 seed, and they would play Arlington, who's currently 4-5 in the first round, given a 49% chance. If they lose, they're still obviously have the home game, only a 27% chance for 2 home games, and are projected a 5 seed against a Macomb team, 6-3, given a 50% chance. And I tell you what, Eden's definitely going to want to win because that Macomb team is tough. They played Lipsick tough as can be earlier in the season, and Macomb is always a great playoff team. Last year, actually, they made it all the way to the regional finals and lost to Patrick Henry, I believe at Napoleon. So definitely a team that always makes deep runs. But I tell you what, Eden's going to have their hands full. Conference title on the line this week, playing a tough Ottawa Hills team. Actually, Drew Pastor has them predicted to lose by 8 this week. So, guys, thoughts on Eden Bombers?
This is one of those when you look at the couple rounds deeper that at least for our area here we want to see Eden and Columbus Grove match up somewhere down the line. So yeah, I mean Bombers have the offense; they can definitely score, and hopefully Bob Olin and the crew goes far.
All right, let's move on to the next game or next team. Sorry, Lipsick. Lipsick has clinched a playoff spot in Division 7, Region 26. Looking at Drew Pastor's website, with a win, they have a 72% chance for a home game, projected the 8 seed, so barely sneaking in with a potential home game, and are looking to play Pandora Gilboa 6-3 with a 34% chance. If they lose, they still have obviously a 100% chance in. They're projected the 11 seed and have a 42% chance to play a 7-2 aided team. And Actually, they're playing Ada this week, so if they happen to lose to Ada, they have a really good shot at playing Ada back-to-back weeks. And how tough would that be? So, guys, thoughts on Leipzig?
That's kind of what Columbus Grove did last year, wasn't it?
They played Bluffton a little bit, a couple weeks later.
Like a
it
week
wasn't
later.
right away.
Yeah, I think they had like a little week break there. So
that's be crazy.
Be interesting because a lot of times those kinds of games, it's really, really hard to win twice. So if they would lose to Ada and turn right back around and play them, could flip the script a little bit and end up coming away with a win on the second time. So who knows?
Yeah, that's like the ultimate halftime adjustment, right? When you get a whole week to prepare and do it again.
Yeah, exactly. With a fresh score too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Vikings playing well. They won 4 of their last 5. Only defeat was to Liberty Benton. So time to get hot is right now.
Looking at the next team, Division 7, Region 26, we're looking at Edgerton. Edgerton has clinched a playoff spot. We'll get a chance to see them this week. According to Drew Pastor, with a win against Tenora, they are projected the 11th seed, and they would play Lima Central Catholic with a 34% chance. And if they lose, they're projected a 13 seed, playing a 7-2 Mohawk, 38% chance. And guys, we had just seen Lima Central Catholic play Columbus Grove pretty tough. I mean, I think if you're Edgerton, you're looking at a draw. I'd almost rather lose and play Mohawk. I don't know how good Mohawk is, but definitely don't want to play LCC first round. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just thinking. It's almost one of those things like, do you throw this game and go so you get a better playoff game, or which I don't know how Mohawk is, and those are only 30% chances that those are the teams you play. So who knows who would you actually end up matching up against? But
it all depends on how the things match up on their side. Right. Yeah, it's they're gonna have a tough game against Tenora this week, but it's winnable for them. If they come out and play well, and Tenora struggles a little bit, they could come away with a win and end up playing Lima Central Catholic. But overall, decent season for them. They have been pretty tough here lately.
Drew's got Tenora picked to win that by 15.
I just saw that too.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Coach Flagel, you just want a healthy team going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're pretty banged up here the last couple of weeks, so you just hope you get everybody back healthy in the week 11.
Looking at the next team in Division 7, Region 26, we're looking at the Antwerp Archers. They are currently in the hunt. According to Drew Pastor, with a win, they have a 99% chance in. They're projected the 16 seed, but could it be anywhere from 15 on out? So
I guess that's who they play.
Yeah, they play the Paulding Panthers, which that's going to be a tough matchup. But if they were to win, they play Columbus Grove first round. Ouch, that's tough.
50% chance that's who they match up with. But yeah,
if they lose, they're out. So they got to win, and I mean that stinks if you're Antwerp and you got to play Columbus Grove, one of the best teams around. So actually number 1 in our power rankings. So guys, thoughts on the Antwerp Archers?
Good luck to them, but it's going to be a tough one. If they do win, they're going to have a really, really tough game against them next week. But still love to see GMC get a little bit of love in the playoffs, even if it is only for 1 week. Like, the more representation, more weeks of getting to play football. So take what you can get.
And whenever Coach Hale, drew up in the halftime locker room last week, his offense was definitely clicking on all cylinders. It was like his offense from last year.
It really was.
I mean, so he scored 33 points in the second half. Hopefully, Coach Hale can continue to do that this week against Paulding and sneak into the playoffs.
Last team that is still in the hunt for Division 7 Region 26 is North Central, and they have to win this game in order to have any chance, and that chance is only 1% if they win. So hanging on by a thread, and this week they are playing Reading, Michigan, who's currently 4-4 in Division 7. Again, don't know too much about them at this time. A lot of Michigan teams it's hard to get some info on. But, I'm actually shocked to see that North Central still had a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, there's 1% chance, but it's still a chance. So, guys, thoughts on North Central?
I don't know about that. I don't know what they'll do.
Yeah, I mean, this best of luck to North Central, but not too much of a chance, unfortunately, for them. So,
And then looking at Division 7, Region 26, Hilltop has mathematically eliminated, Ayersville has been eliminated, and Montpelier has been eliminated. So, guys, that rounds out kind of our playoff talk and seeing how things are going to possibly play out. What are your final thoughts on playoff football in Northwest Ohio?
Well, for me, I'm just kind of looking down through, you guys talk about the rabbit holes. I clicked on one of the links, and here I am 3 clicks deeper now on Drew Pastor's website. But This is a thing most likely to not make the playoffs with 6 wins, and actually he has Paulding listed here as like a 1% chance to not make the playoffs with 6 wins. They have a 20% chance to make the playoffs to not make the playoffs if 6 wins. So some of the things he puts in here just most likely to not get a home playoff game with 9 wins. And Martins Ferry is 8-1. They have a 99%. They have a 95% chance to not host a playoff game with 9 wins.
Jeez, wow. Must be a pretty weak schedule then.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I guess for me, my final thoughts are: I know we went through all this and the percentages, but there is so much that can change, and we saw it last year. Teams barely made it in. Teams were barely, not making it into the playoffs.
Half a point out.
Yeah, like we had said. But I like using Drew Pasteur's website because it does give you a pretty good idea. I remember a couple of years ago we were looking at where Tenora was going to be, potential travel times because we broadcast the games, and Highland Marengo was one. And we did a little bit of research, and that was their, I guess, most favorite team to play for round 1, and sure enough, they ended up playing Highland Marengo, and 2.5 hours later, we found where Highland Marengo was.
Like in the middle of nowhere.
Another road trip in the books. But, I'm curious to see how the brackets lay out, too. So that'll be interesting, and obviously we can have more discussion on that when we finally see the layout of the brackets and what the regions look like and kind of go from there. But, Keith, AJ?
Oh, some of the road trips that we get to take as a crew are actually a lot of fun. Like, it sucks to drive 2 hours to a game, but it is fun to go through stories and talk football and hang out for a couple hours while we're not doing something. We're just
it goes by quick for sure.
BSing and having a good time with it. So it's really not that bad when we have to travel. Hate for the teams that have to go that far, but really do look forward to this time of the year because we get to see a lot of really good football. Whether we're still following around Tenora Rams Live, or if we're on the road with somebody else. Columbus Grove, looking at you guys, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch you, see where you get. Liberty Center right there with you too. Some of these other teams, man, it's gonna be a lot of fun to see where you end up this year. Patrick Henry.
There's a lot of teams that are gonna have an opportunity to make a deep playoff run.
Eden,
so it'll be fun.
Teams like that. We could be looking at some really, really good playoff time here this year.
Let's hope we do. But yeah, as AJ said, that at least for me personally, Friday night into Saturday morning for me, I'll just be like clicking refresh on my phone nonstop to see where all these teams fall into place. That's a good time. But yeah, looking forward to the playoff run, following our local teams and whatnot. Hopefully the Rams can go far. If not, last year we had a great time following around Columbus Grove and Liberty Center most of the time, and the venues that we go to and the different people you meet and run into. Yeah, I can't wait for that. So looking forward to that.
All right, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with the Hot Takes presented by BSN Sports. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio, call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to the Hot Takes presented by BSN Sports. So again, these are sent in from fans on a weekly basis. I post on social media, and everyone responds with some hot takes or points they want us to discuss. So the first hot take, and I like some of these. These are some good ones. So, players feed off the fans' energy or lack thereof. Don't sit like you're in church, listen to the homily. Get your explicit butt up and make some noise. Need more cowbell. Guys, we've talked about this before. The energy in a stadium, we talk about momentum. When the fans are really getting into it, I truly believe it makes a huge difference. But who wants to kick this one off?
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, we've been to several playoff games last year, a couple games this year. Like even last week when we did Sonoran Paulding, that atmosphere was fantastic, I thought. Both sides, both crowds, chirping back and forth, players chirping, the crowd's into it, everybody's into it. So I absolutely agree with that. Get up, make some noise, and support the team on the field. It's just a much better atmosphere for everybody involved, players, coaches, both fans. When student sections get into it and they shout back at each other and whatnot, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, get up and support the teams.
I'll tell you what, one of my greatest memories of playing football was we were at Lima Central Catholic, and the way the stadium was set up, or it might have been like Lima Senior or whatever, but the way the stadium was set up, part of our fans were obviously on our sideline, but there was also a group on one of the corners on the other side. And Tenor always did like RAMS, kind of like OHIO, and it echoed from one side of the stadium to the other. And that awesome. It sends chills down your spine and gets the adrenaline pumping when you get the crowd involved to the point like that. I mean, that's why college games are so fun to go to, because the crowd is just intense. And some of these games you go to that the crowd seems like they're more there just for social hour. You feel it. You know it. Yeah. And the kids feel it. They don't have that oomph, that energy, and I think it suffers. You get teams where they're, good music going between, at timeouts, things like that, and everything's up and going. Mm-hmm. Man, you feel the energy roaring in that place.
Yeah, that's absolutely just the energy coming in. We've talked about entries, all the time, and how that gets you going and get your blood pumping. And then if the crowd gets into the game, it just, they always talk about in college like the 12th man kind of thing, that kind of stuff. Just get the crowd into the game, and if people get excited and they're right on those stupid cowbells. I mean, it just gets you feel the energy, and you're just talking about it. Sometimes you kind of get the energy going, but the hair starts standing up in your arms and that kind of stuff. So I mean, when you're in a game and that energy level picks up and the crowd gets into it, it's just awesome.
Yeah, we talk about cowbell a lot, but someone commented on here. I'm trying to see if I can find it. A loud cup. Have you ever heard of a loud cup?
Yeah, yes. They're new. It's a new thing now.
It sounds like a duck.
It's kind of like a Yeti, but they blow into them, and it's like a horn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had some of those at our softball. The first time I saw them was this year at the softball.
My mom had commented on our YouTube page a couple podcasts ago about talking about the cowbell, but also a loud cup, and I had no idea. I'd never heard of a loud cup before, so that was kind of
just like a little Yeti cup. They bring it in. It's got like a hole in the top, and it blows into it. It's pretty neat. I heard them blowing. I'm like what? They go, the loud cups, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
The first time we ever heard those was, I think, one of your softball games.
Yeah.
A couple of the parents had them.
Yep.
And then me and Kaylee were doing the game when we were hearing that. We're like, where the heck is that? What is that?
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I love the noisemakers, and do I get to mention names for the people with the air horns, or they get kicked out?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I won't mention names, but there's a Sonora fan that has an air horn that's hooked up to a drill. That's pretty cool.
It's a train horn.
Yeah, it's like a train whistle.
That's incredible. I mean, that thing is so loud too, but
hooked up to a drill motor. So I mean, people got all kinds of creative ways of making noise, but nothing beats the cowbell. And if you people that are listening don't know about the cowbell, I think we talked about this before, but look up Saturday Night Live's "Need More Cowbell."
Will
Ferrell and that. I'm telling you right now, you'll be laughing. That's a pretty funny scene. So look that up.
But going back to this topic, I think one of the fan bases that I really think makes a huge impact has got to be Liberty fans. Liberty Center.
Oh, yeah.
When they yell, hit Liberty, hit, the old Kern saying that everyone always says all the time, and always all the time, the Liberty Center fans are up on their feet, they're cheering their team, and you could tell those players and coaches just feed off that energy, and it gives a great vibe to the game. And I think I guess you could say that Liberty fans are probably 12th man. I mean, for them,
they really are. I think Columbus Grove did a nice job.
Columbus Grove too.
Their student section was really big, and that's what I really like is the student section. Mm-hmm. The student sections, in my opinion, can really lead a game. Lead a crowd. And I think I mentioned that when Nage and I were at UT that time, and those guys were blowing those big horns, and But yeah, you get a student section really involved and get them excited. I mean, basketball games are the same way. I mean, I remember when you guys were in school that some of the stupid stuff you guys did, but everybody was just looking at you guys. It was funny to watch what was going on over there in the student section at Sonora because these guys came up with all kinds of goofy stuff to do. And I tell you what, it was funny. And I think, the rest of the crowd kind of feeds off that energy.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right. Well, we'll move on to the next one. That was a good one, though.
Yep.
This one was sent in to us, and as they said, it's not really a current hot take, but it's a solid conversation piece. So when it comes to dominant teams of the past in this area, what is your dream matchup? Asking us here. This could be champions of separate leagues from the same season going head-to-head, or teams from different eras with different styles going at it. This guy, being an NWL guy, he can't think of a better matchup than Patrick Henry's 2005 state championship team featuring Kraus, Yarnell, and George, etc., versus Wasion's 1993 state championship team led by Griggs and Langendorfer. Contrasting game styles with some of the best athletes ever would make this a great one that we will never see. What are yours? Even if you don't talk about this, he said he's curious our answers, but I told him we're definitely talking about this.
Yeah,
so
that Wasion teams back then with Corey Griggs, 3-sport athlete. I mean, he was one of the better players in this area. I mean, there was nobody that was quite as good on the field, court, and whatnot as Corey Griggs. Quarterback, baseball player, basketball player, and he was just fantastic. But that's a very good point, whoever brought that up about that Wasion team. And you got the 97 Bulldogs, one state. That was a good team. Tom Ward, and then, I mean, he would run through a brick wall. He was like, the mini Chris Spielman back then.
Real quick, just want to shout out Joey Robinson, linebacker for the Defiance Bulldogs, beat Tom Ward's career tackling record.
Did he?
So,
I'll be darned.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to congratulate Joey on as well.
Oh, good Lord.
I almost forgot about that, but that was pretty impressive because Tom Ward was a heck of a football player.
That's a heck of a record to break. I mean, that's if you break a record like Tom Ward's, I mean, you're in a fantastic class.
State playoffs, so he had a lot of extra games in there at one point too.
Right. I mean, he had the '86 Ayersville team with Denny Martin as quarterback.
That was a solid team.
I mean, that was a heartbreaking loss for them. Solid, great team. Chris Schlachter and them. Obviously the Liberty Center team from last year I thought was really good, and this year is still yet to see, but. That'll take a lot of thought for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, just thinking recent teams.
Even
Liberty
Logan.
Center's team from last year, Columbus Grove's team from last year, PH's team from last year. There's 3 solid teams that were all in the state Final Four last year.
I tell you what matchup I would like to see: Liberty Center's team from last year playing Liberty Center's team from this year.
Oh man,
that would be really
cool.
That's
a good one.
I mean, kind of thinking outside the box. Having 2 of the same team play each other, but. Just for comparison too, I was curious from, when I played the 2014 team, which would have been my junior year, that was the year I would say we probably had a little bit better chance of winning, state championship that year than my senior year because we had back-to-back years of state semifinal bursts. But that team versus this year's Liberty Center team, and it said Tenora would have lost by 1 point to this year's Liberty Center team. So just kind of food for thought and just interesting to see comparisons. But that was according to Cal Preps. So
your team was what I was thinking about. Logan was the 2014 team that 13-14, right? The 2 years you went 13 and 14. Both of those,
14-15.
14-15. Yeah, those 2 teams were phenomenal in my opinion. They were both great teams, and it's just. Unfortunately, you guys didn't get there. Honestly, AJ's, his
2000
would have been sophomore year. That team when they shut out everybody in the GMC and ended up losing to LCC, who ended up going to the state semifinals.
Lost by 1 point. I think.
Finals.
Wasn't it 21-20?
Lost by 1 point. Missed extra
point.
Extra point.
I think Landon Dravis and Derek Dravis is on that team, and you mentioned the all-sport athletes there.
Right.
Which that game ended because I think it was Landon Dravis broke his finger on the game-winning or the game-tying play, or I guess whatever it was, set up the game-tying kick. He broke his finger and wasn't able to hold the kick, so we ended up having to make changes, and the snap was mishandled a little bit and ended up costing us the game, which with a kicker that hadn't missed a single field goal or PAT all year, ended up that was a good team.
I mean, what about the Liberty Center team back from, what was it, in the 90s when they went to the States?
About 97, too, somewhere, I believe.
I remember what that was. There's a lot of good teams that you if you wanted to match them up. It's one of those, take it like on a Madden football. It's like go back and click these teams and put them together and play kind of thing.
I tell you what, just some other matchups I'm thinking of. I'd like to see like a 2005, 2006 Sherwood, Fairview Apaches team.
Yeah.
Looking at
I forgot about that
state
too.
records, playing like a Liberty team of now with that defense. That'd be interesting. Something else I think would be interesting is you look at I know they're outside of our coverage area, but a Kenton team with like when they had Grant Sherman in 2012 or the Malk brothers, whenever they were there, light up the scoreboard playing against the Sherwood team or Fairview team. I keep saying Sherwood because I'm looking at this right here. The Fairview Apaches team with Coach Bob Olwin coaching them, and you had Ryan Radcliffe and Ben Wonderly. Yep. You know what the score of that game would be? Oh my goodness, that game would never end. That score would literally be 80 to 90 something.
Yeah,
that's
incredible. They're both throwing the ball all the time, so the clock would never run.
This year's Bob Olin Eden team against that year's Fairview Bob Olin team.
Yeah.
And see what you come out of there. But yeah, that's a very interesting question. That's going to take a lot of deep thought, but everybody's brought up some very good points here. But as AJ, he said, that defense 2010 was one of the better defenses for Sonora that I've ever seen. And then Logan's 2014 team was, defensively not too far behind. Offensively, probably the best offensive team that Sonora's ever had. And it's just a shame that, just came up a little short in 14.
We actually ran the spread that year.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, that's how you came down against Minster to get in field goal range, really.
So, yeah, if you guys have any good matchups, reach out to us and, maybe we'll discuss them in the future. But, if you think of any team or any matchup from any time period, tell us those matchups because I'm curious. There's a lot of good teams over the years, and this could spark debate for hours and hours for sure. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to move on to the last hot take here just because we're a little bit shorter on hot takes due to all the playoff content. But Liberty Center's Cam Colley might be the most dangerous kicker in Northwest Ohio. When I think of this one right off the bat, I think of two guys. I think Cam Colley comes to mind, and I think the chef from Edgerton, Scotty Krantz. He's got to be on that list. I think one of those two for sure. I don't really know of any others around the area, but I know those two guys are dynamic playmakers, punt return, kick return. Defensively, they can take one to the house on a pick six. So, guys, thoughts on this one? We saw on the honorable mention plays of the week, Cam Colley had a nice kick return, and not only was it, thanks to him, but his teammates as well. He ran through untouched, and he showed off that speed and in the open field too. So, thoughts on this one?
He's explosive, that's for sure. That honorable mention play of the week, he had some speed. From the second he caught that ball, he was just going, and obviously it helped get him through the traffic, being that fast, because before things could even close down on him, he's through it and gone.
I don't even know if he got touched.
Yeah, I don't know. He hit the hole so fast that didn't even have a chance. And Scotty Krantz is definitely a good one to compete for dangerous kick returner for punt or kickoff, any of it.
Yep.
So I'm trying to think from Hicksville, Brant Langham.
Brant Langham
Langham is pretty explosive too.
Don't kick it to him.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would say Cam Colley's up there. I'd say he's definitely in competition with Scotty Krantz, but I can't think of really too many others.
Not too many this year, but last year we had Jack Hurst from Archibald. Like, that's another one you didn't want to kick it to.
Chase Miller. Chase Miller was another
one
that was really dynamic. Actually, that's probably the best 1-2 punch out of any team in the area by far. So, I think
long time.
Combined between those two, they had at least 4 or 5 touchdowns on special teams. So, I can't remember the last time that a team scored that much on special teams either, and in terms of in the return game. But if you can have a guy like Colley or Krantz on your team, we talk about special teams paying huge dividends, especially come playoff football time, which both those teams are looking. They're clinched in the playoffs. That could be the difference maker. And I think for Liberty, when you run the ball a lot, it just it gives a different dynamic to score on special teams, and they can score on defense too. And that's what's going to help make them, everyone's talking about another state run, getting down to state. Mm-hmm. Guys like Cam Colley, they're going to help them make those runs.
Yeah, they're a difference maker for sure because, every coach has its own philosophy, but some coaches like to, put in some of their kids that, they get not quite as much playing time and start time as, they normally would. But those usually are maybe some of your second teamers or on your special teams units on the punt and kickoff. And if you got somebody like Cam Colley that can, change the game just on a kick or a punt, that's a huge difference maker going against, lesser competition. So.
All right. Tony, any comments from you?
No, I agree with you, what you guys have said.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritware, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. Remax Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio. Call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, we are on to Week 10 game predictions. A lot of good ones on the slate, a lot of games that could decide playoff berths, conference titles. So there's definitely a lot of good games this week. So let's start. Looking at Paulding 6-3 at Antwerp 3-6. We just got a chance to see Paulding play. That team is tough as nails. I think they're going to go into Antwerp, take care of business. I don't think this one's close, to be honest. I think Paulding wins this one by 21 plus.
Paulding all the way, and the last chance to get your fish over there.
Yeah, that's right.
At Antwerp for the 2024 season.
And Paulding.
Paulding for me.
And Matthew had Paulding as well. Next game, Ayersville 1-8 at Wayne Trace 3-6. Wayne Trace is playing some of the best football they have all season long. Unfortunately, they dropped one to Fairview last week. But again, showed that offense has some potential, and were able to put up close to, I believe, 300 yards. So most that we've probably seen out of them all year. So as long as that offense can score and the defense plays like it typically does, I think Wayne Trace wins this one against Ayersville handily.
Raiders all the way.
Wayne Trace.
Raiders for me.
And Matthew had Wayne Trace. Next game is Edgerton 6-3 at Tenora 6-3. We'll be covering this one live with Tenora Rams Live. Edgerton's got, a couple questions. They are without Maddox Baker. They have, I'm trying to remember his name, Mason Eldon, backup quarterback. He was actually in contention for player of the week as well, so he played pretty well. So it kind of answers that question there. Guys like Scotty Krantz, if you're Tenora, you cannot kick the ball to him. He will make you pay 100%. I mean, just boot that ball out of bounds. You're punting it, kicking it, squib it down the field, but do not put the ball in his hands because he's going to score a touchdown for sure. Tenora, again, continues to be gritty, win week after week, still undefeated in the conference. They clinched the conference title. Hopefully they don't ease up. I feel like Tenora's really grinded through the gauntlet. They're down to the final team. Could Tenora be taking a little bit of a deep breath here? I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, I think the Rams get it done. They've been too clutch, especially in the fourth quarter, so give me the Rams.
Number one, Logan, every Tenora game comes down to the last 5 minutes. So
it does.
There's always something in a Tenora football game in 2024 that you've never seen ever in high school football. So
don't be one of the fans that leaves at halftime.
Don't leave at halftime.
You definitely want to stay for the full thing.
Right. And Coach Becker's pretty well speechless by now. He's like, he's going to need a new ticker
after about 4
before
heart
the
attacks.
Season's over, right? But Rams offense continues to get it done. I mean, they're winning ugly. Defense shows up every day. As we said, that's just are they going to be 100% healthy? That's still a question going in. But Rams are on a roll. They're playing well. So I'm taking Tenora. Senior night at Tenora, final regular season home game, I guess, for the seniors. So, but taking the Rams.
Alex Homeyer has a shot, I believe, at breaking the single season sack record too. I believe he's at 14 right now.
13 or 14.
13 or 14 for sacks for the season. The record is 16, held by Marcus Mosher. So there's a possibility he could get it on Friday night, and he still has the playoffs too. So something to keep an eye out for.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams here as well.
Well, guys, I found out something today that I didn't know until today.
Yeah, what's this all about?
Tenora does not have school Friday.
Oh, parent-teacher conferences.
What?
Yeah, I was going to schedule a
screw them a
softball
little
meeting.
bit.
They're like, "Oh, we don't have school Friday." I'm like, "What?" So immediately I'm like, "Really?" So that kind of wavers my pick a little bit, but after what we saw, we just talked about that earlier about not being in school and how does that affect them, but I think I'm going to stick with the Rams, and one senior night, they're going to get the job done. They're going to find a way to get it done.
I was honestly curious to see what you had to say. The only game you didn't have your pick in for, I was curious on what point you had. But
I trust me, Tenora is going to have to play better. I think Edgerton is really – we thought Paulding gave him a shot last week. I think Edgerton's going to be there as well. And I'll tell you what, if Tenora blinks, Edgerton's going to step in there and take this away from him. So they need to be on their toes.
Yep.
And Matthew had Tenora, so Tenora from all of us. Next game, Fairview 7-2 at Hicksville 2-7. Fairview is rolling right now. Really, ever since the Tenora loss, they've had a 4-game win streak or so. So been taking care of business. Finally able to run the ball a little bit, which that's been huge. Logan Olinger has stepped in and really kind of ran with that last game, and we've seen him get a little bit more touches out of the backfield too. So I think that was something that Fairview really needed to establish to kind of take that next step, especially in the season. So I'm going to go Fairview. I really like their chances. It's at Hicksville. Sometimes Hicksville can give people fits playing at their place, but I think Fairview takes this one.
Apache's getting ready to roll into the playoffs.
Yep, Apaches for me.
Fairview for me.
And Matthew had Fairview. Next game, looking at NWAL. Bryan 1-8 at Archbold 5-4. Bryan's just had a tough go around this year. I mean, they've got some decent athletes, but it just has not been their year. Archbold on the flip side, ups and downs and all around, and I feel like sometimes you don't always know what you're going to get out of the Blue Streaks, but I think on the final game of the year against a 1-8 Bryan team, I think Coach Dominic gets a win, and they go into the playoffs with a good attitude. So give me the Blue Streaks.
Yep, got the Streaks as well.
Yeah, Blue Streaks big.
Yep, Streaks.
And Matthew had Archbold. Next game, Delta 6-3 at Evergreen 5-4. I really like this matchup. I would like to, possibly go to this game or see it. Definitely be tuning in and catching updates. But this one has a lot of going to help with the play out of playoff contention and making the playoffs. Evergreen has to win this game in order to get into the playoffs. Delta, I believe, is in, like we said earlier, no matter if they win or lose. So I kind of thought back and forth. This game's at Evergreen. But I think Coach Vickers and the Panthers are going to be a little bit too much for the Vikings. I think this game is close, though.
Yeah, we had both Coach Vickers and Coach Bach on our coaches show, and both are really impressive individuals. So you'd like to see both coaches win.
You would.
But in the end, I think Delta has just a little too much for Evergreen, so I'm taking the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Delta as well.
I'm going against the grain here, boys. I'm going to go with Evergreen. I think Coach Bach and the boys over there can hold Lintermoot in check, and they pull out a victory in this one.
And Matthew had Delta, so Tony was the only one going against the grain.
Got to pick some different ones.
Someone's got to. Next game, Liberty Center 9-0 at Wasion 3-6. Again, Liberty Center is just absolutely torn up every single team that they've come across in conference play. I don't think it changes this week. I think they win this one big. Another running clock in the second half. So give me Liberty Center.
Tigers big.
Yeah, Tigers for sure.
Tigers running clock in second half.
Don't want to mix it up on this one?
No, not this one. This is the one I'm going to pick to mix it up on.
And Matthew had Liberty Center. Next game, Patrick Henry 7-2 at Swanton 0-9. Patrick Henry, again, one of the top teams in the area. That's a reason why they're the third-ranked team in our power rankings. Lincoln Krieger's doing really good things for them. On the offensive side of the ball, he's running the rock really well. That's something, too, that's tough for teams to stop when you're running the ball as a quarterback. You gain an extra hat for blocking as well, too. So I don't see anything changing this week. Give me Patrick Henry.
Patriots big.
Yeah, Patriots are the only ones to give Liberty Center even a remotely close game. So, yeah, Patrick Henry going to take away with this one.
Yeah, PH at 7-2. Their only losses is Columbus Grove and LC. Yeah, they'll win this in big.
And Matthew had PH. Next game, OttawaGlandorf 5-4 at Defiance 5-4. Another really good matchup this week. This is one that I think could be decided by a coin flip. I know Defiance has kind of struggled here the last couple of weeks. OG's playing some of the best football they have in quite some time. But at the end of the day, I think I got to take OttawaGlandorf. That defense is tough as nails. I really like the way that their offense is playing as well. Coach Schreiner's got the boys playing. Like I said, the best football of the season, that's when you want to be playing it, is at the end of the year. So give me the Titans.
Yeah, Defiance is playing, it's just as well as anybody in our area up until the last 2 weeks. Now all of a sudden they're struggling on both ends, offense and defense. And on the other end, OttawaGlandorf, the later the season goes, the better they play. So if you're Coach Cooper, I guess you just preach, hey, we don't want to play first playoff game on the road. That's too far of a trip. So, but in the end, I think OG's they're just playing better right now. So, taking the Titans.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Keith. I'm going with the OG.
And I'm going against the grain again, guys. I think Defiance, I think Coach Cooper gets the boys straightened out, and they come away with a home victory here.
And Matthew had OttawaGlandorf. So, Tony again going against the grain. Next game, Elida 2-7 at Van Wert 4-5. Van Wert, another team that's getting red hot here towards the end of the season. I think Van Wert takes this one. They've got a high-powered offense, and I continue to think they score 40-plus in this one, and they end up finishing the regular season 5-5.
Cougars for me.
Yep, I think Van Wert goes 5-5.
Van Wert for me.
And Matthew had Van Wert. Next game, Southview 3-6 at Napoleon 4-5. Napoleon, similar position that Defiance is in. Napoleon's kind of had a tough go-around the last couple weeks. A lot of ups and downs, but I think this one being at home gives them the edge. I'm taking Napoleon.
Yeah, Coach Schwery's got to get things on track here heading into Week 10. Taking the Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm hoping Napoleon can have a 50-50 season here, so going with Napoleon.
I'm taking Napoleon as well.
And Matthew had Napoleon. Next game is going to be the NWO Sports Game of the Week, and that is none other than Columbus Grove 9-0 at Bluffton 9-0. Cue the Rocky Balboa music. It's part 3. I tell you what, this is going to be an absolute slugfest. May be the best game of the year I think we've seen in the regular season, and we've seen some good ones. I think this game is going to come down to the wire because Bluffton is no slouch. Columbus Grove has taken care of business, though, over the last couple of years, and just kind of reading some stats here. Columbus Grove versus Bluffton all-time series. Bluffton leads 50-41 and with 2 ties. Columbus Grove has won the last 6 games and are 10-2 at Bluffton since 2000. So definitely have the advantage over the last 24 years, I would say, playing at Bluffton. So with all that being said, I don't think there's any doubt. There's no way we can pick against Columbus Grove. So give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, last year at this time when Bluffton was on that shutout streak for defense, going into this game, I was like, boy, I took Bluffton. Yeah, I'm not making that mistake again. Taking Coach Schaefer and the Dogs.
Columbus Grove really needs this game from multiple perspectives. Like, they want to win it, obviously, but they want to actually have a tight game here to kind of condition them a little bit going to playoffs because they really haven't had anything even remotely close to a tight game yet. I think Bluffton's given them their best chance at that this year, for this year. So I still think Columbus Grove wins, but I think Bluffton could put up a good fight against them.
And this is for the conference title, NWC title on the line as well.
Well, I tell you what, I love Columbus Grove, and this one I think they're going to pull out the win. But I tell you what, I keep staring at it, and I just think, is this Bluffton's year? But I'm going to stick with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Bluffton's defense, I think, is only allowed 59 points through 9 weeks, so similar to last year.
The Bulldogs only need 6.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Who knows? Columbus Grove could double that too. We don't know.
It could come down to a field goal. Believe it or not, it could come down to a field goal.
And Matthew had Columbus Grove, so Columbus Grove from all of us. Next game, Lipsick 6-3 at Ada 7-2. I think Lipsick for me has been a little too inconsistent this year. Ada being 7-2, they've been a tough team. Obviously, we don't know quite as much about them being outside our coverage area, but I think I'm going to take Ada in this one.
Ada for me.
Ada
for me. I want to take Lipsick, but I'm going to stick with Ada.
And Matthew had Ada. Next game, Eden 9-0 at Ottawa Hills 7-1. Another great matchup in Week 10. Again, this is for the TAC title. Eden has had a lot of questions this year, due to the strength of schedule that they've had. And this is the big matchup everyone's been asking to see, what kind of team is Eden going to be. So I'm really interested. I don't know. I think I'm going to change my pick real quick. I'm changing it last second. I think I'm going to go Ottawa Hills. I know I'm going to catch some grief for it, but I think Ottawa Hills is too tough. It's going to be at Ottawa Hills. I don't think Eden's been challenged to this point. So, I think Ottawa Hills has had a tougher schedule, and I think the Green Bears get it done.
Yeah, they're all valid points, Logan. This is a tough place to win up there, too, at Ottawa Hills. I just think Eden's playing very well this year on offense. And defense, for the first time in probably the history of Bob Olin, has actually played very well as well. So I think this is a game that Eden has heard about. Hey, you don't play a tough schedule. You play soft this, soft that. So they're going to go into Ottawa Hills and shut everybody up and come out with a W. So taking the Bombers.
Yeah, I think this is where Eden kind of shows everybody what they truly are made of. So Eden.
Logan, you're trying to talk me into changing my pick again, but I'm going to stick with Eden.
And Matthew had Eden, and so I was the only one against the grain. And I literally just changed that now. I kind of looked long and hard at it, but I don't know. I think I'm going with Ottawa Hills. Next game, Montpelier 2-7 at Hilltop 1-7. Both teams kind of struggling this year, but I like Coach Robinson and the Locomotives. I think they take care of business, and they get their 3rd win of the season.
Yep, Coach Robinson closes out the season with the W.
Yep, going with Montpelier.
Locos for me.
And Matthew had Montpelier as well. So Montpelier from all of us. Next game and the last 11-man game is North Central 3-6 at Reading, Michigan 4-4. I think I'm going to take Reading being 4-4. It's kind of hard to draw comparisons with some of these Michigan teams. I don't know. I think North Central, again, they've got 3 wins, but they've been kind of against, again, a weaker schedule. I think I like Reading's chance in this game.
Yeah, I know nothing about Reading, but I'm taking Reading.
I'm going with Reading as well.
It's like the reading railroad here.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, but I'm taking reading because Matthew took reading, and he's doing better than me in the pick. So whatever Matthew picked, I'm picking here.
There you go.
Oh boy.
Couple 8-man games on the slate to round things up. Stryker 1-7 at Waldron, Michigan 5-3. Stryker has had a tough go around, so I'm going to take Waldron. I think Waldron wins this one by a few scores.
Waldron for me.
Waldron for me.
Come on, Stryker boy.
Yeah, what the heck, AJ?
Disappointing me.
Waldron for me.
And Matthew had Waldron. You can tell it's getting late. Last game, Holgate 6-1 at Chalker 3-3. Holgate's coming off a tough loss to Toledo Christian. I think they bounce back this week. As long as they have their players healthy and they get some of their starters back, I think they win this one. But if not, I think it's a ball game. But give me Holgate.
Taking the Tigers. Hope they're healthy.
Yep, Holgate.
It's Tigers for me.
Matthew had Holgate as well. Well, guys, we're on to closing thoughts. It is officially Week 10 is here. Playoffs start next week. What more can you ask for?
There's a lot on the line for a lot of teams this week, guys. I mean, just trying to get in, trying to find out whether you're playing at home, find out whether you're traveling 17 hours to play the first round playoff game.
Trying to figure out how you're going to book your chartered flight.
Yeah, you got to figure out what day you're going to leave in order to get there in time on the bus. I don't know. It's just an exciting time of year, and a lot of teams are having senior night, like Sonora. We was at Paulding last week, and they did senior night for all the fall sports, and it was like 90 seniors, it seemed like. They just kept naming names. But just an exciting time of year.
I kind of said everything I had to say a little while ago when it comes to playoffs and some of the matchups we're going to see this week and experiences we're going to have coming down the road here. So get out and support your teams because there's not much left of it.
Yeah, going off what AJ said, a lot of teams do have playoff implications coming up this week, but there's a lot of teams that don't. So for all those seniors that are playing in your final senior home game or basically final game in general, most of these kids will never play football ever again. So just, soak in that Friday night and just breathe and you'll get out of there with a lot of memories because, that's the last time you'll be, under the lights on Friday in a high school uniform. So just soak it all in. Get as many photos as your parents can get of you and just enjoy the every single second of it.
Absolutely.
And for me, Week 10 is pretty much like Christmas time for me. I mean, I'm so excited. Week 10, like you said, there's conference titles on the line, playoff football implications. There is a lot going on right now. And then when playoffs start, like you guys had said earlier, going on some of these road trips are some of the best things ever. We have a great time checking out new venues, teams. The people that we get to talk to are so great that are involved, whether it's people, coaches, players, fans, or, people behind the scenes. Everyone is just great, and it's just awesome to see because it's something we don't get to experience during the regular season. So it's always good to venture out and meet some new people and make some good memories. So I'm excited. Hopefully all these teams play the best football they have all year, and you get the best out of each and every team and each and every athlete. So,
hey, one quick shout out to Edgerton, Blake and the AD over there.
Oh, Keith Marilot.
Yeah. He come talking to us right away about being in their new press box this year. And unfortunately, we play at home this year for Sonora and Edgerton game. But I was over there for our 8th grade game tonight, and that thing is huge. They've done one heck of a job putting that thing in. I can't wait to be in there next year, to be honest.
Awesome.
It just looks awesome.
The cool thing is next year it'll be like Week 4. So we'll get to see you right away next year.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Well, other than that, I think we're good. So we'd like to give a thanks to all of our sponsors: BSN Sports, Optimal Performance Fitness, Titan Sports, Marco's Pizza, Remax Realty of Defiance, Bat & Stevens Body Shop, Burkholder Taxidermy, DeLarber Concrete and Hauling, Fairchild Family Chiropractic, Drop Zone Pizzeria, Tenorams Live, Jimenez Basketball Academy, NWO Basketball, and Truland Equipment and Lauren Brown. We'd also like to give a special thanks to Jeff Batt for allowing us to use his amazing facility at Bat & Stevens Body Shop for today's podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports Podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.